great day in Kansas City with Randy Cross. This is Kevin Harlan. It'll approach 70 degrees. The wind is out of the southeast. The Kansas City Chiefs are trying to win their second straight game for the first time this season. As you look at fourth-year coach Dick Vermeil, Chiefs 3 games out in the West. The Colts have won 4 of 5. They lost to Jacksonville last week, 27-24. In a game that had 12 penalties. Very uncharacteristic for the Indianapolis Colts. And before we kick it off, any final thoughts, Randy?
Well, to me, this is a game of two teams, Kevin, that are playoff-type teams. The Kansas City's running out of chances to prove they belong in that category.
Chiefs will kick off with Lawrence Tynes, and deep back for the Indianapolis Colts will be Dominique Rhodes. The Chiefs, the Colts, we are harnessed in, and here we go from Arrowhead. On the 5-yard line, Dominique Rhodes. And finding a gap before Stills brings him down across the way. A flag is down at the 33. Ball out of bounds at the 31. It is a 26-yard return as it stands right now.
At the end of the run, personal foul, major face mask on the defense, number 55.
Stills.
From the end of the run, 15 yards, automatic. First down.
We just got done talking about how it's important for the Colts to get off to a good start. And Gary Stills, that's the major kind when you grab it and then pull down and use it as part of your tackle. And this is the perfect scenario for Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts, and also one of the few times today you'll see them in an actual huddle together.
We expect a lot of no huddle then.
That's them. I mean, they're built. They basically play 2-minute offense for the whole game.
Couple tight ends lining up at the 47-yard line. 1st and 10 for Peyton Manning with the single back. That's Edgerrin James. And Manning with play action right off the bat with a nice block and going deep and looking for Wayne, who is covered downfield by Barty. Incomplete pass. With a 2nd down and 10 from the 47. And this is James. He got a block from Tarek Glenn, but Barty brought him down. And of a gain of a yard to the 48-yard line.
Marvin Harrison hasn't had a 3rd down catch since week 2.
See if he does it now. It's 3rd and 9. They got to get to the Kansas City 43. 3 receivers deployed, including Stokely. Manning. And bobbled and incomplete to Wayne. The coverage there by Woods. And the Colts have got a punt, something they did not do in the playoff game a season ago.
This is a new kind of defense in Kansas City. It just harkens back to the defenses they had here years back when Gunther Cunningham was here last. It's more aggressive, it doesn't sit back, and it's a defense that wants to dictate to the offense instead of accepting what they get.
This is Hunter Smith to punt. And they blow it dead. Flag was thrown here, and Fox was deployed off the line for the Chiefs, and it looks like some movement.
False start. Offense, number 38. 5 yards penalty. Still 4th down.
What an excellent job, though, by Kansas City. Early on, you get that face mask, you get the extra yards, you set up Peyton Manning in that wonderful position, and Dick Vermeil's defense comes out on this first series and does something like you mentioned already. They already make Peyton Manning in this offense punt. Now it goes back to the Kansas City offense. Their goal after this punt, get the ball back and be effective, hold onto it, and get some points out of this next possession.
And the Chiefs didn't punt in that playoff game either. So now back to the 43-yard line, and Hunter Smith will punt again. Oh, and it's a fake. He's one of the best athletes on the team as he runs outside, and the fake does not prove to be beneficial for the Colts. It's a 2-yard gain. The tackle was made by Warfield, who is alert on the fake, and now Dick Vermeil and the Chiefs will begin it with outstanding beginning field position.
Well, the Chiefs come out basically in a safe type of a defense. You've got Warfield right out here on the outside. There he is, and he's got perfect position. Excellent form tackle. I don't care how fast your punter is and how good an athlete they are. Going against an NFL defensive back, that's a mismatch.
Now, from the 44-yard line of the Colts, it's Trent Green and the Chiefs with the 1st and 10. And the quick handoff to the NFL's top rushing back, Priest Holmes, who was brought down by Raheem Brock, a gain of 3 to the 42-yard line. Got to get inside the 35. That's Eddie Kennison on the move, and Holmes again with the block by Wegman. And then brought down by Josh Williams, among others, at the 40-yard line for a gain of about a yard, setting up third down. Third down and 5 from the Colt 40-yard line. Dante Hall is in. Holmes provides a block, and Green throws to Gonzalez, who's got the first down, breaking one tackle after another. Mathis was in his wake, and he's down to the 27-yard line, picking up 14 yards on third down and 5.
Something that this offense does that's unusual is they block real well out of the offensive backfield. Watch Holmes coming against the blitzer Nelson, 57, cuts him down, buys his quarterback that time. This is how the Kansas City Chiefs want to start. They want to start on their terms.
59 straight games for Gonzalez to catch a pass, and it's 1st and 10 for Green, out of the reach of the leaping Johnny Morton, who is covered on the play by Jason David. It'll be 2nd down, and here at CBS we call our stats on this game Stat Tracks, coming out of the upper portion of your screen, and updated scores and information of other games, Game Tracks, in the lower portion of your screen. 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, keep track on Indianapolis's defensive ends and outside linebackers, how hard they drive up the field to take away that quick pitch, that stretch play that Kansas City likes to run so well, pulling their tackle Rolf specifically.
They've got Gonzalez as a receiver, 1 of 4, 2nd down and 10, and this is Priest Holmes, who got a Waters block and is tackled by Bashir and Thornton on a gain of 6 to the 20.
I want to give you a few things to take a look at here for this game, and they're both fairly simple in how they work. You know, for the Colts defense, okay, you stop the run, you're the 32nd ranked defense against the pass in the league. What are you going to do once they start throwing it? For the Kansas City Chiefs, it's real simple. You proved last week who you really are against the Falcons. You are a power team that then passes. Stay with who you are. Leave it to the O-line.
Nice defense for the Colts. Blaylock is in the backfield, 3rd and long 4. They've got to get inside the 17-yard line. And Green to Blaylock, who is tackled by Cato June. Flag is down.
No. Play was marked down. Stretching out, trying to get that first down, and the ball didn't pop out until after he was down on the ground.
A yard shy, down at the 17-yard line. He has to get another half yard.
Watch Blaylock stretch for this first down. Stretch, balls in, knees down, balls out. That's excellent. That's why the official came in immediately pointing to the ground.
And they're going to go for it on 4th and less than a yard.
No surprise here. In this kind of a game, you know, 3 points, usually I'd say take your 3 points. I think against this opponent, you're trying to do as much as you can. Early timeout right here. Eddie Kennison ran off on the field.
Kansas City.
The Chiefs are taking a timeout, moving the ball after the Colts blew it on a fake punt and gave Kansas City great beginning field position. Kansas City just called a timeout. They've got it 4th and 1, 7th play of the drive. Handoff to Priest Holmes, and following a Brian Waters and Willie Rofe block, he takes it with a dive for a first down to the 14-yard line, a gain of 3. The interior making that stop.
An excellent play, though, despite that first down by Monte Rieger. He penetrated. You know, here's a guy, a good example of an Indy lineman for Tony Dungy. He was 300 pounds plus at Denver. Indianapolis got Rieger. He's now about 280. They really like the quick down.
14-yard line, 1st and 10. 2 Kansas City tight ends. Base defense for the Colts, and a tackle by Freeney on Holmes, who submarines 2 to 3 yards. They'll mark him at the 12.
They're pretty consistent. You talk about teams having personalities and tendencies. Right now, Kansas City doesn't care if teams know that they like to run left more than they run right. And as good as that offensive line is all the way across the board, I think power-wise, behind Brian Waters, Willie Rofe, and Jason Dunn right there on the left side, you're looking at all the power you need.
Chris Horn has come in as the lone receiver. 2nd down 8 from the 12. Great block inside, and that sends Holmes outside. The block came from Gonzalez, who's blocking, it seems, improves every game. He picks up 5. He's down to the 7-yard line.
Well, you know, last week it was a nightmare for the Atlanta Falcons, Kevin, and it just play after play after play. And look at the direction they're going here most of the time. That was in the middle, but it's left and it's left. 8 touchdowns against that defense. A power line that just took control of this football game, and Matt might have just turned around this season for this offense.
8 rushing touchdowns. Unbelievable. Here it is 3rd down and 3. They have brought in Dante Hall as a slot wide receiver. And the ball is resting at the 7-yard line. Recovered by the Colts, and Dries Brashear at the 3-yard line. Holmes, who fumbled last week against Atlanta on the first drive, fumbles this week on the first drive against the Colts.
Trying to reach for that first. Ball is knocked out. Nice play.
After a Kansas City fumble, it is 1st and 10 from the 4. Manning gets it out to James, who is clobbered by Mitchell and by Fujita. No gain on the play. 2nd down and 10. Priest Holmes fumbled moments ago at the Colt 4.
Yeah, and it was Josh Williams coming from the backside. Watch first by him, Dwight Freeney. Okay, now here comes Josh Williams right here, and he knocks the ball out. So he's distracted by Freeney. He moves the ball to get away from Freeney, but when he does, Josh Williams just hatches it right out.
Dallas Clark, the tight end, has become the 3rd receiver. 2nd down and 10. Edger and James banged all over the place. Even a block by Marvin Harrison couldn't free him. They had Mitchell and Dalton and Ryan Sims there. No gain.
Well, folks, if you haven't seen the Kansas City Chiefs since that playoff game last year, Gunther Cunningham right there has stamped a personality on this defense. Are they physically better? I don't think so. And they did make changes, and they're not physically better. I think mentally better. These players are much more aggressive.
Julian Battle has come in as an extra defensive back. It's 3rd and 10. They've got to get to the 14-yard line. Stokely has come in as the 3rd receiver for Manning. And Manning across the middle. He's got his receiver. That's Reggie Wayne. The catch is near the 15. He was hit on the play by Woods. It's a gain of 11 on 3rd and 10 and a first down to the 15-yard line.
And you're going to see this a lot. And I know Peyton Manning came into this game after talking to him expecting a lot of blitz, a lot of attacks. You know, look, it's kind of a zone blitz because they have Lionel Dalton, the defensive tackle, almost backing off, and then a zone behind it. You're going to see a lot of blitzing against Peyton Manning.
Manning deals well with the noise here. This offense deals well with the noise.
It's built for it.
On the 15, handoff on 1st and 10 to James, who runs into his own blocker Harrison and digs his way into the grasp of Woods at the 25-yard line and very close to a Kansas City first down. Let's take a look at where the Colts are. They've won 4 of their last 5, but they lose last week to Jacksonville, so they trail the Jaguars by a half game in the South. Kansas City 3 and back of Denver. 2nd down and 1, 25-yard line. Clark is the slot receiver, the tight end. Edger and James, a good block by Clark, hit by Mitchell and then grounded by Browning. He's got the first down, picking up 3, and he's up to the 27-yard line.
Now you've seen 2 plays in a row, a very important play for the Indianapolis Colts, and it's basically the same way for Kansas City, but they run it differently. It's a stretch play where you see Peyton Manning just sprinting to his right to get to a handoff, and then sprinting to his right, sprinting to his left to make a handoff, sprinting to his right. That sets up their best play-action pass also.
Nothing to Harrison yet, 27-yard line. It's a 1st and 10 for Manning. In a scoreless game, great play action again by Peyton. And fires a pass, looking for Wayne, covered by Barty. There goes the yellow. There's the flag.
It's illegal contact. It's going to be against Barty.
Barty's taking the place of the ineffective and now injured Dexter McCleon.
I mean, there was contact both ways, but rarely do you see this called against the offensive player. But that contact, it's usually
pass
deep.
Interference. Defense, number 24. At the spot of a foul, automatic. First down.
Let's look at the contact down the field. And the contact started happening about 2 seconds before Peyton got him the ball. it was pretty much just a battle down the field. And you've got to coach your players to play defense like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
It is a first down to the 39. Priest Holmes just fumbled for the Chiefs at the Colt 4. Stranded there. Now some breathing space for the Colts, and Manning with the handoff to James, who was hit by Woods and then gang tackled on the sideline after a gain of 5 to about the 43-yard line. No huddle for the Colts, which you talked about at the top of the broadcast.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter if it's run or pass. They are built, Indianapolis is, for the no huddle, and especially with this play that they run, that stretch. Tony Dungy stands on the sideline, and it's boring, but it's stretch right, stretch left, and it's part of their quickening the pace I talked about at the very beginning.
Second down and 5 from the 44. They got to get to the 49. Two tight ends, including Marcus Palmer. Play action there, and a block by James and a wobbly pass, which is incomplete. Looking for Harrison, covering the play by Wesley.
And Jared Allen got some late pressure on Peyton Manning, and that's something they need to do. They may not get there for a sack, but to get downstairs, not up in his head, but watch, Jared Allen is coming from the defensive right side. He's the down end, driving right through DeMulling, and he gets there late. Pressure is pressure any way you can get it against Peyton Manning.
The defensive back for the Chiefs, Julian Bennett. Stokely is the slot receiver. It's third down and 5. They got to get to the 49. And Manning quickly knocked away by Eric Warfield. A beautiful play. Flag is thrown. Harrison was the intended target for the Colts.
That was way, way late. Eric Warfield working there. Comes around just perfectly to knock that down. He might have had the hand wrapped from the backside, which we couldn't see.
Pass interference. Defense number 44. In the spot of the foul, automatic. First down.
Certainly did in the AFC Championship game a year ago. You're right, 48-yard line, first and 10, Manning. Look at the time. And going deep, wide open is Marvin Harrison, who is downfield for an easy Colt touchdown.
That was just warm-ups downstairs before the game. The Colts do that every game. Warfield trips in the man coverage. Actually, he could have picked out who he wants to throw it to. Barty gets blocked a little bit by Wayne at the very end, but Wayne was also behind Barty, so it was pretty much pick your poison.
The 74th time that Harrison and Manning have hooked up. And the extra point by Mike Vanderjagt. For the Colts, their third touchdown drive over 90 yards this year. And this 52-yarder to Harrison. And the Colts on top 7-0. Priest Holmes fumbled at the Colt 4. And then the other way, 8 plays and 96 yards and 52 yards through the air. Manning to Harrison.
You've been burned by a big play if you're Kansas City. Don't change your personality. Don't just start chunking the ball.
Here's Vanderjagt's subsequent kickoff, and Dante Hall will take it on the fly at about the 14-yard line. A block from Blaylock and then taken down from behind. He was tackled on the play by Gary Brackett. A 16-yard return. So Warfield in the secondary burned early in Kansas City. After they survey what Peyton Manning just did, beginning at his 4 after a Holmes fumble for the Chiefs. What looked like an opening series drive for Kansas City into the end zone. How about that? The Colts strike back on a 52-yard pass play to Marvin Harrison. So, second possession for the Chiefs, first and 10. And it's Green finding Morton, who works on the side on David, has a first down. He's to the 45 and picks up 16 yards.
One more time from the top, from the coach's camera. Here's our matchup. Now here's the pattern that Harrison's going to run, and then Warfield just trips and falls. He's got no help from the inside. He's manned up. Barty can't do anything on the backside. Looked like a broken play. And how much did Manning enjoy the play? What's amazing about him is he never took his eye off his receiver, even when he was on the ground.
Hall is in. There are 2 tight ends. And from the 45, it's a 1st and 10. The fake end around the hole. And here comes Green on the fly and looking for Tennyson. He's got it. Nice diving catch. A 1st down reception in front of Harper at the Colt 43. Gain of 13. And we know that Carr, Greg, is number 3 in NFL passing yards coming into this afternoon. 43-yard line, 1st and 10. Priest Holmes. Up by Freeney. And then whacked by Green. And on the play, out about the 44-yard line. Loss of the yards, 2nd down and 11 coming up.
That's one of the things the Chiefs want to do, and just a nice job by Indianapolis defensively of stringing out everybody, blockers-wise and Priest Holmes-wise. That's how you defeat that stretch kind of a play. You get aggressively up the field and don't give them those soft edges.
Chiefs began the last possession right where they are right now. The Colt 44 on a fake punt that went awry for Indianapolis. From the 44, it is 2nd down and 11. Pitch out to Holmes. He's blocked by Richardson. Looking to come. There's Jason David again, knocking him out of bounds. No gain on the play. In fact, he's right there where he started. It'll be 3rd and 11.
And one of the things that Indy's doing to counter this play selection by Kansas City, they're moving personnel around a lot. Dwight Freeney's lined up on the center, Wigman right now.
5 receivers, including Glenn. 3rd and 11. They got to go deep, and that's what they do. And they got the 1st down. It's caught across the way by Johnny Morton, who worked on Von Hutchins, who is a rookie out of Mississippi. He picks up 23. They'll spot him at the 22. Another Kansas City 1st down.
And one of the things that happens when you move people around sometimes, it ends up being to your detriment. You're not getting the pressure maybe you're used to getting from the outside from a Freeney. That gives Green more time to sit in there. A pattern like that takes a while to develop, and the reason it's successful is because of protection of the line, enabling Johnny Morton to get that reception.
Officially at the 22. Holmes back in, 1st down and 10. Holds up on a 52-yard touchdown pass, and here comes Green. A good block by Waters to the end zone, wide open, Tony Gonzalez, and a Chiefs touchdown.
Don't forget, put the game in the hands of the big boys. And that drive there was all about the offensive line of Kansas City, just hammering on Indianapolis and giving Trent Green all the time he needed to complete the key passes.
Lawrence Tynes will try the extra point on a high snap, which is pulled down by Steve Cheek, and Tynes ties the game at 7 apiece. The interesting thing about these quarterbacks, they were Pro Bowl teammates for the AFC in Honolulu a year ago. They have matched each other, touchdown pass for touchdown pass. 1.5 to play in the 1st quarter, tied at 7. Gonzalez with his 3rd touchdown reception of the season. They had a key 3rd and 11 pass to Morton, who gained 16 on that drive, and we're tied at 7. And the kickoff by Tynes, and Dominic Rhodes is deep back, and he'll take it about a yard deep for the Indianapolis Colts. He was slowed down by Kieran Fox and then belted by Barty, and he made his way to the 19-yard line on a 21-yard return.
Here's Tony Gonzalez, and watch him just go up into the end zone. But more importantly, right here is the protection. You know what's missing here up front for the Colts? Dwight Freeney isn't up there, their best pass rusher. Their next best pass rusher, Robert Mathis, number 98. No Mathis, no Freeney, no pressure, 6 points.
Look at Gonzalez. And now the Colts begin at the 19-yard line. Let's see how Peyton Manning in Indianapolis responds. A game of chess. Clark is in the slot. The tight end is a receiver. Fake, and a good one it was to James. That means Manning goes deep and looks for Harrison, who is covered by Warfield. Incomplete, 2nd down and 10. 2nd down and 10. Edger and James. DeMullen pulling with the block, and a tackle made by Kawika Mitchell, who is starting today. No gain on the play. Back to the 19. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Well, this defense for Kansas City came into this game ranked number 9. And have they had one big bad play? Yes. Eric Wolffield fell down. They've had a couple penalties called against them. But you see this possession, you notice there's absolutely no aggressiveness coming out of this defense. Important against the Colts. You can't get soft. You got to stay aggressive.
Julian Battle is a fifth defensive back. Stokely is the slot receiver. They've got to get to the 30. It's 3rd and 10.
Comes the blitz.
Manning sees it too. And Peyton moves and fires. Incomplete. Deflected. Almost picked off by Woods. They were going for Harrison. Incomplete. And upcoming will be a punt for the Colts.
Sort of a chess on grass move up front. This matchup between Gunther Cunningham upstairs and Peyton Manning on the field. Is it a blitz? Is it not a blitz? I know one thing. Peyton had to make this decision quick. Ball was thrown a little high, and he's very lucky that isn't going back the other way.
Hunter Smith faked a punt the last time and was unsuccessful. The short punt is picked up at the 42-yard line by Dante Hall, who has now returned a punt for a touchdown in the regular season over a year, and dancing and taken down from behind.
Remember last year against Houston, the ball rolled to him, and he gets it. Coverage teams tend to hesitate when the ball's on the ground. Slight hesitation. Look at the wall formed by the blockers. That's all this guy needs. Dante Hall's had nothing wrong with him, but except for two things: a little better blocking and a little more confidence. That'll give him a lot of confidence.
That is his longest punt return of the season. Before this, 26 yards. That punt return, 46 yards.
A net -7 on that possession.
And they're going to put it at the 12, where it is 1st and 10. That is the Colts 12, and outside they go to Kennison, who is belted by Jason David. He's out of bounds at the 9-yard line, picking up 3, and 6 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
Now, can't you tell the bounce and the rhythm this offense is in? Obviously, you're in a position here where you've got some great momentum because of that punt return.
That's the end of the first quarter with 2 touchdown passes, and we're tied at 7. We'll return to Kansas City after these messages on CBS.
You're watching the NFL on CBS.
Change a quarter. If you're Nick Harper, change your shoes. You don't like the pair you had initially on this field. It's very tight, very fast. I mean, there's no coincidence they play soccer on here also. You can see some of the funny lines on the field. Harper got his soccer shoes on and took off those plastic molded ones.
First play of the second quarter. 2nd down and 7 with the handoff to Priest Holmes, who is brought down in the middle by David Thornton. It's a gain of 2 in this great Kansas City field position set up on a 46-yard punt return by Dante Hall, his season long.
I really like what Indianapolis is doing defensively too, Kevin, against the Kansas City run right now. You haven't seen Priest Holmes the last few times really bust out. That's because they're keeping their discipline. They're really going through blockers, and backside there are no holes.
3rd and 5 from the 7. Green looking for a second option, maybe his 3rd option to the end zone. Caught for a touchdown! A spectacular Johnny Morton grab!
Morton against the rookie David. You know, we just saw the World Series with Boston winning their first since 1918, and in that series we saw a lot of high heat, and that was Trent Green high heat that Morton brought in for 6.
Tynes with the extra point. The Chiefs have the lead for the first time today as Johnny Morton just lassoed a very high and hard Trent Green pass, his first touchdown reception since last November. It is Halloween after all, isn't it?
The worm!
Johnny Morton just got the 2nd touchdown pass by Trent Green today. He had Gonzalez earlier, Morton moments ago. And the Chiefs are on top 14-7. Dominique Rhodes is deep back for the Tynes kickoff. Rhodes had a 88-yard kickoff return against the Chiefs in the 0-1 season and from the 10. Brought down by Gary Stills at about the 32 on a 23-yard return.
Well, Kevin, you know, here in the no fun league, if more than one guy celebrate, it's a penalty. If you're Johnny Morton, you do this, you don't have to worry about anybody joining in on this. This is all you, Johnny.
Peyton Manning is 3 of 8 passing. They begin after returning to Kansas City, kickoff to the 32 after the Chiefs and Trent Green threw another touchdown pass. And there's a flag right there.
False start. Offense, number 18. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So Peyton Manning, after a loss, though, you look at the numbers this guy puts up. There's a reason they've got the longest streak going right now, 30 weeks in a row without consecutive losses. Peyton steps up once they lose.
Now it is 1st and 15. They've got to get to the 42-yard line, and they are at the 27. Flick end around to Wayne. Outside to James. Hit by Fujita, knocked out of bounds. Near a first down, 41-yard line. And it's a gain of 14 yards on the play. The Chiefs have scored their last 2 possessions. The Colts have scored on a 52-yard touchdown pass to Marvin Harrison. They punted the last time, 3 and out.
You know, for the Kansas City defense, probably the most important player this week in practice was Heward, playing quarterback. Damon Heward did a perfect imitation of Peyton Manning. I can see ways now it's been paying off.
2nd down and 1. Into Mitchell, a stiff arm by James, and he's got the first down out to the 45, 44-yard line and a gain of about 4. That means a lot to a team to see that, doesn't it?
Well, especially in a play like this, Kevin, where you've got your quarterback on this stretch play. Watch Peyton Manning just sprint to try to catch up with Edgerrin James. Now that looks like he's just barely getting there. Well, the play action on that stretch is exactly the same, and it's just how Brock Heward made it look all week long, and Damon Heward did all week long in practice.
It is 1st and 10 from the 45, and Manning with great time and throws deep down the middle. It hits the back of the covering linebacker Kawika Mitchell on the intended pass for Marvin Harrison.
Kawika Mitchell from the middle linebacker. That's a new thing. Middle linebacker sprint deep to take that pass away.
2nd and 10 handoff to Edgerrin James. He goes head first into Warfield, brought down by Browning and Wesley. It's a gain of 6, and he's past midfield into Kansas City territory.
3 plays in a row, Kevin, with a sprint type look. 1 handoff left, a play action look left, and now a sprint left. The exact same play, 3 different plays. Good result so far for the Colts, because the Chiefs have got to honor that play and bite on the fake.
This will be the Colts' first play on Kansas City territory today, 3rd and 4. Base defense for the Chiefs as Manning looks for the first down, and Stokely, and it whistles over his head, incomplete. It's the 2nd consecutive punt for Manning in the offense. Hunter Smith the punt. Dante Hall's back at the 10. He returned the last one, 46 yards, a season high. He'll fair catch this one at the 17-yard line. 32-yard punt. Trent Green with 2 touchdown passes. And a lively Halloween in Kansas City's Arrowhead Stadium. Chiefs lead 14-7. They could lead by even more.
Well, absolutely. That fumble by Priest Holmes, it's not always good to bring up a negative at this point because they are doing well, but remember those 3 or 7 points later on, because this just smells like a shootout. This smells like a Peyton Manning, Kansas City, hold on to your socks no matter, don't tell them what's going to happen.
So at the 17-yard line after the Colts punt, their 2nd consecutive, 1st and 10 for Trent Green outside Eddie Kennison. Chiefs have scored the last 2 times they've had it. 21-yard touchdown pass to Gonzalez. 7-yard touchdown pass to Johnny Morton. From the 22, 2nd down and 5. Priest Holmes. Flag is thrown. Gang tackled at the 25. Hit by, among others, Josh Williams.
That's going to be a hold inside against the Kansas City offense. They were running a twist inside that leaves you in a bad spot. Sometimes your only option is to hold.
Holding. Offense, number 62. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Chiefs have had a couple great beginning field position starts with the Colt 44 and 1 at the Colt 12 the last time.
Watch the twist right here. Freeney comes around. The hold is against Wigman working inside. He's working at the inside as a center, working against Williams, 96. I don't know. That didn't look like much of a hold there.
Kansas City's fourth penalty.
That's something they've had a problem with. One of the least penalized teams in the league the last few years. This year, it's been like an epidemic.
2nd and 15. They got to get to the 27. Green has hit his last 8 consecutive passes, and this is Priest Holmes, who gets a nice block from Wigman. Also got a nice block from Johnny Morton, who's finally brought down 32-yard line by Drees Bashir. A 21-yard gallop by the NFL's #1 running back, Priest Holmes.
Well, this is pretty good blocking, but it's also Priest Holmes break a tackle, go, go, go. Yeah, he's kind of like Inspector Gadget. He keeps breaking out different tools. Nice fake in the backfield on Morris. Nice block by Tony Gonzalez down the field, but that's a little bit of blocking and a whole lot of your NFL leading rusher, Priest Holmes.
And Blaylock is now in. It's a gain to the 33. It is a first down. Kennison is on the move, and the end around to Johnny Morton with Will Shields providing a block, and that's what he gets him. And there goes Morton, who is tackled at about the 47-yard line by Gilbert Gardner, a rookie from Purdue. It's a 14-yard gain.
Yeah, one of the reasons at the beginning of this game, I said, leave it up to your big guys. When you have the run game is not only your confidence, but it's also in the defense's heads. And you're seeing right now offensively, Kansas City is doing what it wants. Al Saunders is, like I like to refer to it, smiling and dialing upstairs. He's just looking at his list going, okay, what's going to work?
Bober is the right tackle, as we mentioned, 47-yard line. Blaylock in the backfield, and Green with play action with the first down. He's got Gonzalez. Tackled by Drees Bashir. He's down to the 21-yard line. It is a pickup up 32 yards. Another big catch by Tony Gonzalez.
We've been watching Peyton Manning and the Colts doing a lot of faking and a lot of play action. Well, you know what? You like apples? There's Tony Gonzalez. How about these apples? Nice play action fake by Trent Green. Tony Gonzalez runs right through the route under the ball. Perfect pitch and catch.
Holmes is back in, 21-yard line of the Colts. It's 1st and 10, and Priest Holmes. It's a touchdown.
The big boys are controlling it up front. Wigman at center, Shields at right guard, Bober at right tackle, leaving huge holes for the NFL's leading rusher, Priest Holmes.
His longest run since week 1, and Tynes with the extra point. That was a great drive. They had a 21-yard run by Holmes, a 14-yard run by Morton, a 32-yard pass to Tony Gonzalez, capped with this slashing run by Priest Holmes of 21 yards and 21 unanswered Kansas City points.
Any questions who has the best offensive line in the NFL? Will Shields, multiple Pro Bowls. Brian Waters, the AFC offensive player of the week last week. Could have been that whole offensive line. I'm surprised Holmes has any dirt on him. He must have gotten knocked down by a teammate.
21 unanswered Kansas City points. Already 217 yards total offense by the Chiefs. And the kickoff, 15-yard line, retrieved by Dominique Rhodes. And brought down on the play by Benny Sapp. And we got some pushing after the play. Gary Stills was there for Kansas City, and also shoving him on the side for the Indianapolis Colts was Keon Whiteside.
Well, he's made one bad mistake. Don't make another.
The Colts have punted the last 2 times they've had it. And Peyton Manning from the 30-yard line, 1st and 10, with Dallas Clark as his slot receiver. Edgerrin James. Mitchell tried to slow him down, then Barber finally took him down at the 36-yard line after a gain of 6.
And Kawika Mitchell, 50, is not real happy with himself right now. He had the angle on Edgerrin James on that stretch play. He had the pursuit, tried to tackle Edgerrin James high, and he found out exactly how strong the edge is from the waist down. Just shrugged him right off.
2nd down 4. They got to get to the 40. They've got 2 tight ends. Chiefs in their base defense. Manning. James. Gets by Mitchell. Got by Barty. Breaks a tackle of Wesley. And with an entourage including Clark, Edger, and James, is finally brought down by Warfield inside the Kansas City 10. Some outstanding blocking and running. 57 yards on the catch and run. First and goal, Colts.
Now this is a clinic on how do you run a screen. You got the blockers out front. Saturday initially clears the way, and then Big Glenn, 78, sort of acts as a screener down the field. And look at that, the convoy. You got DeMulling, you got Clark.
First and goal from the Kansas City 7-yard line. Make it the 8, and the handoff goes to Dominique Rhodes to the Tarek Glenn block, and a tackle by Barber. Wrestling him down at about the 11-yard line, and a loss of 3 on the play.
Well, it's pretty obvious that you're facing an offense, Indianapolis Colts, that are unclear on the concept of can't. And that's can't run or can't pass. This play action fake is still going to be a huge factor in this game for Peyton Manning and the Colts. Kansas City is just screaming to the sidelines and sucking up with the linebackers every time he does it.
2 tight ends, base defense for the Chiefs. James back in the backfield, second and goal from the 11. Manning to Pollard, who breaks a Fujita tackle, then is brought down at about the 5-yard line by Warfield. It is a gain of 6. It'll be third and goal.
So the best thing about having a Marvin Harrison in this part of the field, if you're Indianapolis and Peyton Manning, he's great bait. You bring him in motion, you move him towards the middle of the field. I would expect him to be more bait than anything else here. I would look at him to go to the top of the screen in that far left corner.
Stokely is in as a slot receiver. Julian Battle is a 5th defensive back. It's third and goal at the 5. Look at Manning. And here comes Dalton, but there goes Manning, and he's got Marcus Pollard for a touchdown. The former college basketball player at Bradley, dunking it as well on a 5-yard toss by Manning. His second touchdown pass today.
The great thing about that play, Marvin Harrison is lined out to the right. He goes like he's running a fade pattern, like Peyton's just going to lob it up over the top. I think everybody thought he was going to lob it up over the top. And Pollard comes from the right tight end position, initially blocks out, and then sneaks out over the middle and catches that right in front of Wesley.
Yep. Beat Greg Wesley, you're right. The extra point by Vanderjagt that stops 21 unanswered Kansas City points in the game.
You like offense, Kevin. Because if you like offense, you're going to be nuts about the rest of this game.
Buckle up, because Manning and Green are putting on a display. The second touchdown pass by Manning. It's 21-14. Catch and run by Edger and James sets up a 5-yard touchdown pass. Peyton Manning to Pollard.
He's the missing weapon.
Wow.
Edger and James, who talks about him? They all talk about Peyton and Harrison and the tools on a passing game.
The Colts are dead last in kickoff coverage, and trying to exploit that from the 6-yard line is Dante Hall. Finds a gap and is tackled at about the 37-yard line. Grabbed on the play is a reserve linebacker, Keon Whiteside.
Talk about that Tennessee-Notre Dame game. Tennessee seems to have a mortal lock on that SEC East.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a heck of a. That was a great game yesterday, that Florida-Georgia game on CBS, and the SEC championship game.
What did I hear?
Coming up in Atlanta.
3, get it moving a little bit out of the Southeast Conference. 3 Florida teams, Miami, Florida State, and Florida, losing on the same Saturday for the first time since when?
78.
78.
Yeah, there'll be black armbands all around college football next weekend. Just. They'll feel so bad for the Florida schools, I'm sure.
Let's see what Trent Green does when we come back with this injury timeout in Kansas City. Looking at the leg of special teamer Keon Whiteside on the Colts sideline. The Chiefs get it, 37-yard line, 1st and 10. Trent Green has thrown 2 touchdown passes. Peyton Manning has thrown 2 touchdown passes. Green has gone 10 of 11. And hit 9 consecutive Kansas City receivers from the 37, 1st and 10. Jason Dunn, the tight end, was in motion. It's off to Priest Holmes. A block by Wigman. And there goes Priest Holmes. A foot race with Breeze Bashir slashing inside into the 10. A 52-yard run by Priest Holmes.
Well, you don't have to just run the ball to dominate a game with your offensive line. You've got Wigman, you've got Waters. Waters is out, nice block by Wigman. Will Shields is running down the field. Tell you, Al Saunders with his offensive game plan, the motion they're using, the formations they're using, they have got Indianapolis on their heels.
From the 11 after that catch and run by Holmes. First down and 10 yards to go. Holmes, a Richardson block, and he cuts inside. He is in for the touchdown. Unbelievable. On the heels of a 52-yard catch and run, he takes it in from 11, and the Chiefs again further their lead on the Indianapolis Colts. And Tynes will try for the extra point. Kansas City has scored on their last 4 consecutive possessions today.
That was just like last week for Kansas City's offense. A dominant job by their offense, especially the right side of the line, and Tony Richardson at fullback. See, there's fullback Richardson, there's Dunn, there's Shields, there's Bober. Watch the job the right side does. Bober gets the seal, Richardson gets the linebacker. That's textbook. When you draw it up as an offensive line coach, Solari on the sidelines got to love it, and heck, Horn, 81, is doing a nice job down the field of blocking. This is the kind of thing you put it into a little can and show it at a high school clinic in the offseason, and there's your big uglies. Might not be ugly, but man, can these guys block.
And what about Priest Holmes, who has rushed now for 6 touchdowns in a little over 1 game? Well, let's call it a game and a half with about 5 to play here in the first half.
Coming into the game, he was the number 3 rushing team for touchdowns in the NFL.
What a game. So reminiscent of last year in a game in that playoff contest here in January where the Colts led from the very open. But Kansas City has taken the lead on a couple occasions today, and here they are on top, 28-14.
And unlike last year, they're on the right end of this take that scoring trading.
Dominique Rhodes from the 6-yard line. Ke'Aaron Fox brings him down, 26-yard line, a 21-yard return. Well, as we said, the Colts and Chiefs met here last year in the divisional playoff, and the two teams traded scores until the Chiefs' final first half possession. As you can see here, a pass to Brandon Stokely. And then here was the controversial play. Tony Gonzalez had a 31-yard touchdown catch that was nullified for pass interference. Colts eventually won the game 38-31.
Talking about that interference penalty, Kevin, that's legal if you're a power forward in basketball. But putting your hands on the defender like that and pushing off right in front of the official, they're going to call that.
Here's Peyton Manning, who has never lost a game as a starter to the Chiefs from the 27-yard line, first down and 10. Fake to James. Here comes Holiday. Harrison, who is hit by Wesley in the secondary at the 44. It's a gain of 17 yards and a Colt first down.
That was an excellent job by Peyton Manning of taking down to the millisecond the protection he got. Because as he released the ball, he got whacked around pretty good in the pocket. But he needed every last part of that protection to get that ball to Harrison, who finally cleared.
Kansas City is in their base defense. 2 tight ends from the 44. Edgerrin James, Fujita has him, and then he's finished off by Kawika Mitchell. A loss of 2, they'll mark it back at the 42.
Well,
Coming up on the next Till Halftime Report, join Greg, Shannon, Dan, and Boomer Esiason for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's the next Till Halftime Report.
And Shannon, I got to tell you, buddy, I'm right with you there on that how to block on offense thing. I don't think the quarterbacks know what they're talking about as far as Denver's offensive blocking plans.
That does not come as a surprise.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They got to get to the Kansas City 46, second down and 11. Manning slings it, and it is incomplete. The coverage by Barty. The pass intended for Reggie Wayne. It is 3rd and 11. Barty had a pretty good game last week against Vic in the Atlanta offense.
You know, I was lucky enough to be in Las Vegas when Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns fought. And that fight, though it didn't last a real long time, was just bomb after bomb from both boxers. And this game just seems the exact same way for these two offenses.
Julian battle is coming. The Chiefs are going to take a defensive timeout. A timeout taken by Fujita. The Chiefs had put in an extra defensive back, and Manning had brought back in Stokely on his offense, and a timeout taken with 3:37 to play. The Colts and Manning have won 4 of their last 5, but come in 2 today off a Jacksonville loss and a half game behind Jacksonville in that South. And Kansas City, 3 games out of first place against the Denver Broncos in the West, and the Chiefs are trying to win their 2nd straight game for the first time this season. This is the highest scoring offense in the NFL, that of Peyton Manning's Colts.
But despite all the points they're scoring, which is nice coming into the game, today this is the 4th time Indy's had to face 3rd and 9 or longer. So you got to say that defensively the plan by Gunther Cunningham and his defensive players is working pretty well. I mean, they're obviously not limiting all the big plays, but they're putting Manning in the positions you want a team to be in.
Stokely is the slot receiver for the Colts. Battle is in the backfield. They got to get to the Kansas City 46. It's 3rd and 11. Here comes Hicks. There goes the throw. It's incomplete. Again, he overshoots Stokely. And they've gone to Stokely often today, but he has not one single catch in what has been a career year. And here go the Colts again, punting.
You're looking at a defense that's faking blitz, and they're coming with the rush.
Colts have got a punt for the 3rd time in their last 4 possessions. Dante Hall had that season-long 46-yard return that he had earlier in the game, which set up a Kansas City touchdown. Line drive and a beauty, and it's going to die inside the 5. A perfect punt by Hunter Smith, a guy who at one time was recruited to play quarterback at Notre Dame. And Hall can only just look in disbelief at that line drive spiral punt. It was a beauty. Last couple games, the Chiefs have found the right mix on their offensive side.
What they found is that want-to up front to be dominant. And that's what they're controlling the games at the line of scrimmage, and that's buying Trent Green the time to do what he wants. 1st
and 10 from the 7. Green, look at the time he's got here. You're right, and Holmes will catch it with a block by Gonzalez and a tackle by Dries Bashir. It is a gain of about 17 yards near the 24-yard line and a Chiefs 1st down.
There's a lot of things that go into this offensive game plan, obviously, and when you got an offense playing like this, especially up front, it's wonderful if you're an offensive player. But what Al Saunders does is he uses his motion for a lot of different reasons. You got all that talent, you got the offensive line. On top of that, you have all this motion and stuff that happens before the snap.
1st and 10. This is Derek Blaylock up the middle, and he's brought down by Cato June and Mike Doss in the secondary. A gain of about 6.5 yards to the 31-yard line.
And when you're talking about all this shifting in motion, there's 4 really good reasons. Dick Vermeil calls it his 4 Ds. It's to distract, to disguise, to disrupt, and more importantly, to dictate. You can dictate matchups. Not only matchups for receivers, but also matchups for linemen.
Both tight ends are in motion and out as receivers. 2nd down, long 3, and Green gets away and throws low and incomplete to Gonzalez. I think
he caught it.
He caught it. Oh my goodness.
He caught it. His arm was under the ball.
A 4-yard reception, but a highlight look out to the 36-yard line. I don't know how in the world Tony Gonzalez grabbed it. That would be his 4th reception of the day. We're at the 2-minute warning. All kinds of offense. What else did you expect with the Chiefs and Colts? Timeout. Is to become the 5th tight end in NFL history to record 500 career catches.
That ball was under his arm the entire way. Excellent catch.
1st and 10 for Green with triplet in his face. A flag is thrown. The pass is caught by Holmes. Cato Jr. to bring him down. 41-yard line, gain of 5 as it stands right now.
Defensive holding against the Colts.
Penalties today, 2 for the Colts and 4 for the Chiefs.
Well, the Colts had a very atypical or unusual day for them last week. 12 penalties.
Holding. Defense number 42. 5 yards penalty, automatic. First down.
Jason David, who is a rookie out of Washington State, a 4th-round pick for Coach Tony Dungy. Whiteside, who we saw earlier, Keon Whiteside, with a knee injury, will not return today. He was hurt on a special teams play. Chiefs have a timeout. They've gotten 2 Trent Green touchdown passes. They've gotten 2 Priest Holmes touchdown runs. Blaylock is split out as a receiver, 1 of 4 for the Chiefs. 1st and 10 from the 41. And Trent Green. Dante Hall shoved out of bounds by rookie Von Hutchins. Close to midfield, gain of 9, and about a yard shy of a first down. Coming up in the Nextel halftime report, join Greg Gumbel, Dan Marino, Shannon Sharp, and Boomer Esiason for all the latest NFL scores, highlights, and news. That's next from New York in the Nextel halftime report.
And I'm sure those 2 quarterbacks sitting back in the studio would love to be in this situation that Trent Green's in. Because that's how they made their money and their fame, was these late game situations. Trent Green's not thinking field goal here. He's still thinking touchdown.
Blaylock in the backfield, 2nd and 1. Hall was a slot back. There's Blaylock, who was tackled in the secondary by rookie Bob Sanders. 17-yard catch and run. And a flag is down back where Green was throwing.
And it's a late hit by Nelson on Trent Green.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 57 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down from the end of the run.
There's Nelson, 57. Ball's gone. Still follows through with a push in the chest on Green. Talked about Peyton Manning taking until the last second. It's just that defensive players have to get it through their skulls. You can't touch the quarterback once the ball is gone. Start it, don't touch him, and work your way back from there.
The back of the football is touching the 19, so officially that's where it is. 1st down and 10. They've got Hall as a man in motion, and Blaylock is in the backfield, and Trent Green will go to the end. On the side, low and almost uncatchable for Johnny Morton, incomplete. He had completed 14 consecutive passes. Chiefs began this drive at their 7-yard line. And now they're all the way down to the Colt 19.
Blaylock's still in the game. Priest Holmes is still a spectator. Same sort of part of the field. You expect that stretch play, that draw play that's worked so well.
2nd down and 10. Blaylock. Good block by Brian Waters. And eventually tackled by Robert Mathis, among others, with the gang tackle at about the 13-yard line on a gain of 6 yards for Derek Blaylock.
You know, Derek Blaylock's a pretty good little back. But just that draw, you can tell the difference between Blaylock and Holmes with how hard and decisively quick.
That's a good point.
That Holmes makes that. I mean, he attacks the defense like no other. And what these guys did was also like no other last week, both getting 4 touchdowns. Little NFL history, and they're scoring at about the same clip so far today.
Blaylock is in there still, 13-yard line, 3rd and a short 5. And Green, who has thrown 2 touchdown passes already, goes in the end zone for Kennison. It was broken up by the injured Nick Harper. There is no yellow on the field. It'll be 4th down and 5. And the defense of the Colts will hold the Chiefs out of the end zone for the first time in 5 Kansas City possessions.
Okay, you tell me who's pushing more. Harper has his arm. I don't think that's pass interference. I mean, if Kennison could put his hands on the defensive player could put his hands on him. And Harper does a nice job of getting that arm in just as the ball arrives.
32-yard try by Lawrence Tynes. And he drills it. And the Chiefs extend their lead with 47 seconds to play in the second quarter, 31-14.
How about 66 points in the last 2 games scored in the first half?
Wow.
35 last week against Atlanta, 31 this week against Tony Dungy's defense for Indianapolis. Now let's watch again. We're talking about that contact down the field. Look at the position that Harper has, though. I think it's just too ticky-tack to say that any contact at all, any placement of the hands is a penalty. I think Trent Green's looking for his receiver to come through the defensive back and back for the ball, and obviously Dick Vermeil doesn't agree, but
no, not at all.
Well, this hasn't been the greatest of years for the Chiefs as far as arguing with the officials. It's been a tough year penalty-wise.
And a tough season overall. They began 0-3, and that was their worst start since the early 80s. As you take a look at Eddie Kennison on the Kansas City sideline, and the guy that he was jousting with, Nick Harper, in the Colts secondary.
Honestly, though, Kevin, if you're a Kansas City fan, you take last week and this half this week, and you say, this is us. This is why, this kind of football is why I still think this is a playoff team. They are that good. They're 2-4. I know their record. I think 6 losses will win or tie for the crown in the AFC West this year. So that's how close, how little room they have to play with. But they're that good, and they're going to be towards the end of this year. But this is the kind of football they need to keep playing. They
sure look at today. Under a minute to play in the first half, and the kickoff by Tynes. 15-yard line, and Dominique Rhodes. Brought down by Sapp and hit by Willie Pyle. It is a return of 15 yards. This is last week against Atlanta. We talk about a change. Michael Vick last week,
right.
Peyton Manning this week for that defense to face.
An embarrassment of riches last week, and well, another embarrassment of riches this week, and it's because of a lot of things. We talk about the motion, we talk about Priest Holmes, Trent Green, the talent. I think it really has come down to the last 2 weeks, like I keep repeating myself, I guess, but this offensive line has controlled the game, and that enables the toys to show what they got.
From the 31-yard line, it's a fake to James and a pass by Peyton, caught by the tight end Dallas Clark out of the University of Iowa. Tackled by Wesley. He's got a first down to the Chiefs' 45. A 24-yard catch. Colts have 3 timeouts.
Anybody out there relaxing? Right now, you've got 31 points. You think it's, hey, we're doing pretty good. Don't forget number 18. Don't forget the toys that Tony Dungy's quarterback has at his disposal. Tony's obviously not happy with the defensive performance, but he knows he's got a team that can trade points with anybody.
Manning signed the $98 million contract this past offseason, a $34 million signing bonus. And he has got 17 come-from-behind wins on his resume, and he's going to need that this afternoon in Kansas City. We're down to 34 seconds to play in the half. Colts have 2 timeouts. They just took one there.
Hey, you talk about where do you have to get for points. Well, if you're, Peyton Manning, Tom Moore, Tony Dungy, the coaches, what you're thinking still is touchdown, because you have those 2 timeouts in 34 seconds, which is a lot. But there's your target line right there, your kicker target line for Mike Vanderjagt. You get to the 34, that means you're kicking about a 51, 52-yarder, but he's got plenty of leg for that.
Julian Battle is the extra defensive back. Stokely is a slot receiver, 1st and 10. Colts with a couple timeouts from the Kansas City 45 and trailing 31-14.
This is all window dressing.
Well, what does he have up his sleeve? Manning over the head of Stokely. Boy, he's gone for Stokely so much this season, but didn't hit him there. In fact, he hasn't hit him all day. It's 2nd down and 10.
So there's something a little different about this offense, too, unusual, and actually was first noticed a couple weeks ago by our producer, Bob Monsbach, about Marvin Harrison lines up on the right all the time. This is a right-handed, left-handed offense. It doesn't flip-flop back and forth with the receivers very much.
2nd down and 10 from the Kansas City 45. 30 seconds to play in the half. Manning, here comes the rush from the side. That's an incomplete pass. They had Barber on the blitz, and he was bearing down on Peyton Manning.
You put that incomplete in Barber's back pocket. He gets that one. You get more than just a check tomorrow when you're Barber on the defensive coming after him. There's Barber coming from the right. working around Glenn, just runs right around Glenn and gets there quick enough to force Peyton Manning to dump it off.
Colts have punted 3 of their last 4 possessions. Manning is 1 of his last 5. 3rd down and 10. They got to get to the 35. Great time, and he's got Stokely, who is hit by Kawika Mitchell, and he's got a first down. They take a timeout down to the 31-yard line. A 14-yard pickup on 3rd down and 10.
I tell you what, 3 seconds ran off the clock from the time they actually stopped the clock to when he called the play off, the timeout. There's Stokely as the stat guy behind Reggie Wayne. Just come out and sit down, wait for that linebacker to clear. And yet another one of those, there aren't many quarterbacks, folks, that throw that pass, that zip it in between those people. I mean, they're easily in Vanderjagt's field goal range, but you still have 1 timeout left.
In 18 seconds.
In 18 seconds. They put the clock back at 18 seconds. That's 3 plays for Peyton Manning. Because he's thinking, okay, I can do it 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. That's 16 and a half seconds. I got plenty of time.
Well, that's how he thinks. That's how he thinks this game.
That's how he prepares.
And he prepares as well as any quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, what he basically is, and we throw in this business the term a coach on the field around a lot. He makes the coaching staff's job so much easier in Indianapolis. I mean, he's franchise player, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. He's kind of all one little package. And then all the coaches do is pretty much supplement what he already does, and they've got a great brain trust around it.
What a luxury. 31-yard line, it is a first down. Colts do have a timeout. And Manning this time to the side and looking for Harrison. And overthrew him, incomplete. Warfield was close, as was Barty. That close.
That was absolutely set up perfectly for Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison is at the near side of the screen, right there, wide receiver. Look at him working against Warfield. Quick move and beyond. That's 6 points. And he couldn't get the ball to him.
I'm shocked. I mean, I'm almost speechless and stunned.
When he doesn't do it perfectly, you're surprised.
Absolutely. It's 2nd down and 10. 15 seconds to play in the first half.
All this stuff's a little much, but...
And Manning being chased and throws over Stokely and in the vicinity of the coverage applied by Jerome Woods. 11 seconds to play.
Yep. Still have a timeout. But I tell you, you got Wilkerson, Ryan Sims. They're rotating a lot of different linemen in up front for Kansas City. But one common theme that Tony Dungy's offense is seeing is they're seeing pressure. They're seeing aggressive defense. Sometimes they're aggressive and they're wrong, but they're always aggressive, always attacking.
Stills and Wilkerson around that defensive line as well. 3rd down and 10. 31. With induced.
That's going to back it up to the 36. Glenn came too early.
Start. Offense, number 78. 5-yard penalty remains 3rd down. There will not be a 10-second runoff. The clock is stopped.
There's Tarek Glenn, the left tackle. You're just going to barely be able to see him move right there. Sort of blending in, but now he doesn't blend when he moves.
Back to the 36. 3rd and 15. They've got to get down to the 21.
They're out of sure field goal range. Right. They're in the twilight zone right now.
Here comes Stills. There goes Manning. And almost picked off by Warfield. He was looking for Harrison on the side. 7 seconds to play in the first half. And Vanderjagt will take the field. Now, his long this season, 46 yards.
Well, you're looking at about a 54-yarder right here. Whatever he has the leg ratcheted up to, I go down a few more twists.
He is battling a right hamstring. The most accurate field goal kicker of all time. Nope. Missing from 54. And 4 seconds left in the half.
See, I can tell you the mentality of the Kansas City players right now. They want to go on the field, and with 4 seconds left, they'd love to take another shot.
So Kansas City's defense does its job, and a frustrated Peyton Manning on the Colts sideline as his team is trailing 31-14.
Well, I'm going to sit here, sip my beverage up here, and I want to listen to what the quarterbacks and Mr. Sharp have to say about this first half of football. I mean, we're talking about 45 points scored between these two teams, you know, in excess of 400 or 500 yards. I mean, this is a clinic.
For Vanderjagt, only his second missed field goal since November of 2002, which is just an unfathomable number.
Well, you mentioned the hamstring. Healthy, I think he makes it.
And Larry Johnson in the game, the #1 pick out of Penn State a year ago. And look at him take it down to the 35-yard line, and that will take us to halftime. 19-yard gain by Johnson. And Trent Green throws 2 touchdown passes. Peyton Manning threw 2 touchdown passes, and Priest Holmes ran in 2 touchdowns in the first half. That's the end of it, with the Chiefs on top 31-14. Next till halftime is on deck from New York as you're watching the NFL on CBS. Scary offensive numbers for both teams today with Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan. Not a lot of defense.
Well, we talked about, you know, Freddie Krueger and Peyton Manning being kind of the Kansas City Chiefs. Freddie Krueger. This is Freddie versus Jason, because now we've got Jason out here in the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, I take that first half and I throw it behind me, because Peyton Manning and the Colts are going to come out here and play their tails off in the second half. Kansas City defensively needs to do some of the things they did in the first half, limiting what Peyton Manning did, frustrating him, attacking him, going after him. Keep that mentality up in the second half, because you know Peyton is going to keep on drilling it at him.
Let's take a look at some of the numbers. First half here in Arrowhead today.
They're kind of scary.
Wow.
You talk about scary.
Yes.
You know, on track for about 700 yards, 38 first downs,
That was amazing.
19 first downs in the first half. I don't know the last time if I've ever seen that out of an offensive football team.
Chiefs will get the ball first. There's Priest Holmes, who has had a spectacular first half, and Mike Vanderjagt waits to get it. The Colts losing to Jacksonville last week, yet they have won 4 of their last 5. Kansas City, just a horrific victory over Atlanta, 56-10.
I thought it would look pretty good.
Oh my God! It was just, of course, with that, they're trying to go now for their second consecutive win for the first time this season.
Already, Kansas City has 14 plays of 10 yards or more.
The horrific was playoff Halloween. Scary.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. Yeah, you should never turn your back on Peyton Manning.
No. I mean, 17 points, you know, feels comfortable, looks good on the scoreboard at halftime. But you got a guy on the sidelines for Indianapolis. If he gets it 5 more times, 6 more times in the second half, can score 6 or 7 touchdowns on you.
And let's see what Dante Hall can do at the opening kickoff, which Vanderjagt sends to him at the 15-yard line. And tackled by Bacon. Wayne Bacon, who is a rookie, an 18-yard return out to the 33-yard line.
And if you're a fantasy football player and you have people on these teams, I mean, look at that. There are teams in this league that go a game and don't have stats that good at quarterback, and it just keeps going and going. You got Holmes and 2 touchdowns, and, you know, how about Marvin Harrison? It's that one big gimme, but outside of that, he's only got 2 catches. They've done a very nice job. If Warfield doesn't slip and fall, you look at Marvin Harrison with just 1 catch. So
Melbourne opens up at right tackle in the second half. That's Johnny Morton on the move from the 33. Trent Green with the first snap of the third quarter. It goes to Tony Gonzalez. From behind, he was hit by Thornton, and he maneuvers his way to the 45 of the Colts in a gain of 21 and a first down.
We've talked an awful lot about the value of play action. Tony Gonzalez lines up there, but here's the play action as Trent Green comes back, and watch the defense react. He's got Dunn in front and just dumps it behind.
First down to the 45. and Priest Holmes. A well-born block. And a tackle in the secondary by Doss as he pushes the pile to the 39, picking up 6 yards. And
Colts were trying to rip that ball out.
They were. You know, Holmes has already fumbled once today.
Well, they're not diving under there for a flag.
As they unravel the pile at the 39-yard line, it looks like the Chiefs have retained possession of the ball.
2nd and 4 from the 39.
So that was a nice job by Priest Holmes. So you hear a lot, you know, halfback patience. Well, that was halfback patience by Priest Holmes, but man, there is no telling. That ball looks like it's on the ground there, but you get in a pile like that, there's no telling what's getting grabbed and pulled in there.
2nd down and 5 from the 40-yard line. Holmes hit and brought down by Raheem Brock. And that is a loss of 3 back to the 43-yard line.
And Raheem Brock does it not. You know, we talked about earlier in the game, Indy was doing defensively. They were getting across the line of scrimmage. They were attacking and not letting Kansas City get into their defensive position. Brock did a nice job just coming right underneath John Welborn and getting into the backfield, almost like he did the play before. Right. But Holmes kind of stopped and let him go by and then went by.
Blaylock is in the backfield. Holmes will be a slot receiver, 1 of 3. Portioned out by Green. 3rd down and 8. They got to get to the 35, and it's behind Hall. Incomplete coverage by Bashir, and Kansas City's got a punt for the first time today.
And that was the one thing you never heard much out of that game last year. Kansas City loses the playoff game, and all the emphasis was on, you know, Indianapolis never punted. Well, Kansas City never punted in that game either.
That's right. Jason David is back. And a punt for the Chiefs will be Steve Cheek. Not a lot of wind inside Arrowhead today. The rush was on. Mathis almost got a hand on it with the rush, and fair caught back at the 8-yard line. 35-yard punt. Well, Peyton Manning on Halloween has got to come up with the lot. His team trails 31-14. He gets the ball next. The highest scoring offense in the NFL is down 31-14, and Manning, the 2nd-rated quarterback in the NFL, has it at his own 8, where it's 1st and 10. The Chiefs are going to probably play now a good portion of this game defensively with the 5th defensive back. Manning, play action to James, and going deep down the side, it's Dallas Clark with the catch. And Warfield is there to knock him out of bounds. And the reception and run take Clark to about the 46. And it's a gain of 47 yards.
Dallas Clark's over there. There's Marvin Harrison. Remember we talked about him always being on the right side of the offense? The defense shifts. There are 4 defensive backs over there. Dallas Clark is able to run straight up his area and go for that. I mean, that is excellent game planning by Tom Moore and follow through by Peyton Manning.
They mark him at the 48, a 44-yard catch and run. 1st and 10. A fake again to James, and Manning again going deep, and wide open is Marvin Harrison with the tackle made by Wesley at the 22-yard line, and a pickup of 22 yards on the heel of a 44-yard completion to Clark.
Another textbook example of play action faking, blocking by the line, and you draw up routes like this for receivers. That's how you tell them to run it. Do they usually follow through? No. Marvin Harrison's made a career of running routes perfectly.
It's 2 tight ends. The Chiefs now in their base defense. 22-yard line. 1st and 10. And Manning again. Down the side and caught by Harrison, who will glide in for his 2nd touchdown today as he torches Warfield. Just like that, we start the 2nd half.
Yep, that's why you say what you do about a Peyton Manning-led offense. If you were breathing easy, it's time to hyperventilate. Because you've got Warfield and Harrison, reacts to the first move, bites on the fake, and that's just a quiet assassin in Marvin Harrison. Doesn't say boo, doesn't spike the ball, doesn't do all kinds of goofy stuff.
Vanderjagt extra point is up and in. That is the second touchdown drive of over 90 yards today by the Indianapolis Colts.
Out of 7 times, that's their 4th touchdown backed inside their own 10 this year.
Hold on with 11:43 in the third. Marvin Harrison has caught 2 touchdown passes today. He had 2 last week against Jacksonville. That's 4 in less than 2 games, and over 100 yards receiving today, the 44th time in his great career. After that touchdown pass of 22 yards, the kickoff from the Colts to Hall at the 12. Doss gets him. Snuffs him out, 27-yard line, return of 15 yards.
Dante Hall on the return. Tackled by Mike Doss.
And they commiserate. They're still down by 10, but how explosive are they?
Landon Moore.
Yep. Happy Halloween from all of us at CBS with Randy Cross and Kevin Harlan, our crew, with you in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. 31-21. 2 touchdown passes by Green. 2 touchdown runs by Holmes. 3 Peyton Manning touchdown passes. 2 to Marvin Harrison, who just caught a 22-yard pass from Manning. The kickoff and the return by Hall to the 27. Here we go, 1st and 10.
Both teams may easily end up scoring in the 40s in this game.
And a handoff to Priest Holmes. Richardson with the block, and he runs outside where he is brought down nicely by Larry Triplett. It's a gain of 5, and he's up to the 32.
That was only a 3-play drive for the Colts. Let me show you something. 2 tight ends, and then you've got Marvin Harrison running his route on the outside, man-on-man with Eric Warfield. Because of the formation, Warfield gives him a 10-yard pad, and Harrison's able to drive him off, still catch the ball, and avoid him to score that touchdown. That was just an individual effort by Marvin Harrison.
Great day today for Harrison. Chris Bulber is back playing right tackle for the Chiefs. 2nd down 5 at the 32. Harrison on the move, and that's the direction of quarterback Trent Green's throw. And Harper is there to bring him down. Close to a 1st down. Gain of about 4 or 5 on the play. They did get a 1st down, I think. Let's see, are they going to measure?
I think Mike Carey just called him off to measure this one.
Mike Carey, who lives in the San Diego area, who is our referee today, who's refereed Super Bowls as a snowboarding manufacturer's job in San Diego of all places. Can you believe that? I think they got it.
If you can sell surfboards, it's like having a surfboard place in Tahoe. I don't want to sell surfboards. I think I'll go to Vail. Yeah.
1st and 10 from the 37.
Mike, Colts came into today 4-2. The Chiefs came in 2-4. It is a 1st down, 37-yard line. Colts staying in the base defense.
That power formation.
Green, here comes Freeney. Green niftily moves up. Then he's brought down and sacked at the 35-yard line. Mike Doss grabs him, and that is the 1st career sack for the 2nd-year player.
This is just a change of pace
2nd and 12 from the
for the Colts defense. Doss on the left side of your screen, number 20, up in a blitz position. He's initially blocked by Richardson, but down the field they did a very nice job of coverage, and that just allowed for the collapse of the pocket by a defensive line that's been pushed around by the offensive line of the Chiefs.
They're sacked by either team today. It's 2nd down and 12, and Holmes running outside, and Doss is there to get him again, and the gain is to the 43.
Remember at the end of this 1st half, Blaylock carried the ball a couple times. I said there's a difference. There's your difference. That burst, and Priest Holmes came into this game a little dinged. You know, Blaylock got those 4 touchdowns last week because he had re-injured that left ankle. You know, and Holmes initially hurt it this year against Carolina here, and then re-injured it last week. You know, your backup comes in, all he does is score 4 touchdowns just like you.
93 yards on the ground so far for Priest. Horn is a 3rd receiver. Hall is out there in motion. 3rd down and 4. They got to get to the 47. Green. That's Dante Hall. And when he has space, you can hold on. He breaks 1 tackle, and that was the rookie Sanders. He's shoved out of bounds. Run that way by Harper and Cato June, a 22-yard catch and run for the elusive Dante Hall.
Yeah, sometimes if you're a coach, too, you've got to be part psychologist. Dante Hall's confidence hasn't been the greatest, but you know today he's got some big kicks. So get him the ball in air, and you're going to see a little bit of the old Dante Hall, and it's exactly what Al Saunders and Dick Vermeil are doing to their kick returner.
1st and 10. With 2 tight ends, the Chiefs line up at the Indianapolis Colts 35. Kennison is on the move, and the end around for a second time today to Johnny Morton with a convoy. Blocking is done in Waters, and they bring him down with a tackle made by middle linebacker
on the
Rob
ground.
Morris, and they say the ball is down. It's a 13-yard gain. It is a first down to the Colt 22.
And recovered by Johnny Morton.
Let's see if we can see the fumble.
Big Brian Waters, last week's AFC Offensive Player of the Week, does a nice job out front, as does Jason Dunn. There's the ball coming out, and it squirts back up into his face mask and then back into his body. See, the ball's out. And as it comes out, Rob Morris kind of knocks it back into Johnny Morris's arms.
1st and 10, 23-yard line, and here comes the rush. Freeney gets a hold of the quarterback, but there's the dump off to Holmes, who breaks a David tackle, then is forced out of bounds at the 10-yard line by linebacker Cato June. A 12-yard catch and run.
About 3 or 4 weeks ago, Kansas City played Houston here. And Trent Green made a very similar play to this. Just you think he's tackled, you think he's down. In Jacksonville 2 weeks ago, he just comes up and flips it out. Holmes took that one for a touchdown. And this one, he just never says die. He's always looking at his receivers.
Officially at the 11-yard line, Chris Horn is the only wide receiver with a couple tight ends and Holmes in the backfield. Priest Holmes. Ooh, tackled nicely by Mike Doss. He was a second-round pick out of Ohio State. Loss of 4. Back to about the 16-yard line.
We mentioned earlier about Priest Holmes coming into this game. He basically was the number 3 touchdown scoring team in the NFL.
Really
he's up to 2 now. I tell you what, though, that Mike Doss, nice tackle. He's a guy they've really been looking to come back into this defense, coming off that hamstring.
2nd and 14, they got to get to the 2. Look at the time for Green. Dumps it off and incomplete, and Monte Rager almost had it.
This is incomplete. It was
Could have been the ear hole of that helmet.
helmet.
3rd and 14 coming up.
That was a nice job there, too. We got a heck of a battle going on between Willie Rolfe and Dwight Freeney, and right here is Gonzalez and Dunn lining up on that right side of the line. That's who Trent Green was trying to get the ball to and trying to feed it into that, just that little window. No, you knock it down, Monte, knock it down. Don't worry about catching it.
15-yard line. Hall is the 3rd receiver with Kennison and Morton. 3rd, 14, they got to get to the 2. Holmes in the backfield. And the draw to Priest Holmes. No place to run, no place to hide. Boy, he's just hit one defender after another, and finally is brought down nicely by Robert Mathis. A loss of 3. Pushes it back to about the 17 or 18-yard line. Colts keep him out of the end zone, and the Chiefs will try for 3 with Lawrence Tynes.
They talked about that battle between Willie Rolfe and Dwight Freeney. Watch this. Talk about reading a play. Look at Freeney. He reads draw, but then it turns into a mess. Because it turns into a mess because Priest Holmes refused to be tackled.
This will be a 35-yard field goal try by Lawrence Tynes. First Scottish-born player in NFL history, and there it goes with the bobble, and Cheek has to get on it, and the Chiefs lose out on 3 points right there.
Well, don't forget those 3 points. Don't forget the early fumble by Holmes. Those 3 or 7. If we run into a big shootout where it's a 3 or 4 point difference, the Chiefs have cooked their own goose.
The Colts have not lost consecutive games in 30 games. You got to go back to the 2002 season. They lost last week. They're losing right now. They begin it after Kansas City bobbled a field goal attempt on the 25. Manning's got it 1st and 10. He has thrown 3 touchdown passes today. And a fake to James. He's chased by Hicks, and he throws to James, who breaks. Fujita got him and spins him down at about the 30-yard line, gain of 6.
He was tackled by Scott Fujita.
Officially the 29-yard line, second down, long 4. What do you say?
Last 2 drives, Indianapolis running this 2 tight end formation. Stokely out of the game, Dallas Clark in.
Clark is in that slot. Kansas City's in their base defense. Manning again, and almost picked off. Flag is thrown. Clark was in the sights of Manning, and the coverage on the play was applied by Jerome Woods.
And the pass interference will be against Jerome Woods. Didn't look a whole lot different from the one that wasn't pass interference earlier.
Defense, number 21, in the spot of the foul, automatic. First down.
At the end of the first half, we saw Nick Harper working against Kennison look very similar to this. I think almost a defensive back these days in the NFL, you've got to be resigned to the fact that you're going to be aggressive, you're going to get 2 of those a game.
It's a first down to the Colt 36-yard line. The Jeff Saturday snap. And Manning caught by Reggie Wayne, and he breaks a RT tackle, and then he is tackled at the 42-yard line by Wesley. A 23-yard pickup to the 41 and a Colt first down.
This new formation has made a big difference of getting these balls out a lot quicker.
Last week against Jacksonville, Colts wide receiver Reggie Wayne shoved Peyton Manning. A very animated discussion on the sideline late in the fourth quarter.
That's our winner of the So What Award for 2004.
All right. We've covered that story. It is a first down at the 41. Manning has 320 passing yards against the Chiefs, and I'll tell you why that's significant in a second as he goes deep right here, and he's got Reggie Wayne for another Colt touchdown. A spectacular 41-yard grab.
Well, offensive coordinator Tom Moore just changes things up enough to keep a defense off balance. They've been attacking, they've been aggressive for Dick Vermeil. They come out with 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. They're treating them a little bit differently, but to the Colts, it's the exact same offense. And when you have safeties thinking tight end, you've got wide receiver thinking 6.
Beat Barty, beat Wesley, and the extra point by Vanderjagt with 4:16 to play in this third quarter is in. And the Chiefs, who one-time led 31-14, have watched Peyton Manning come back. 4 touchdown passes today, the first to Wayne. And the Colts are back in business, down 31-28. A touchdown pass, Manning to Wayne. Second straight touchdown drive by the Indianapolis Colts to begin the second half. And the short plop goes off to Hall inside the 20 at about the 18-yard line. And he is brought down nicely by Sanders and also by Gary Brackett, the reserve linebacker, a 20-yard return.
Here's Barty, here's Woods. Watch Woods bite forward, and then as Wayne just goes right by Barty, there's no one to help him inside. Bite on the fake, Barty's laying off, see you later, bye. Peyton Manning missed one of those wide open to Harrison in the first half. He's not going to miss 2 of those in a game.
There's Barty, who is the new starter at that cornerback, taking the place of the ineffective and now injured Dexter McLean. From the 37, first and 10. Priest Holmes, tackled by Trees Bashir, just past the 40-yard line, gain of 3 to 4 yards. Second down. Coming up next, Tom Brady and the 21-0 New England Patriots try to keep rolling against rookie phenom Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. Where the Raiders take on the Chargers. Check local listings for the game in your area here on CBS.
To me, the impressive thing about that young quarterback from Pittsburgh, Kevin, Roethlisberger is leading the league in fourth quarter passing, clutch passing, and also leading the league in third down passing.
Second down and 7 from the 40. Morton is on the move and a couple tight ends. And Trent Green to the air. And throws to Tony Gonzalez. And Gonzalez gets his 6th reception, and he's just become the 5th tight end in NFL history to record 500 career catches.
That is exactly the play. Play action fake, fake the stretch, You've got underneath Jason Dunn. You throw behind Jason Dunn to your tight end, Tony Gonzalez. Excellent play action faking and a nice route.
He also has his 11th career 100-yard game. 45-yard line of the Colts. 1st and 10 for the Chiefs. The fake to Holmes, who offers a block, and Green going deep and looking for Morton down the side. Incomplete, the coverage by Jason David, and no yellow on the field. It'll be 2nd down.
See, a defensive back, has all the rules working against him. One of the things he has to be able to do is know where the receiver is. He's looking back for the ball. Isn't that a nice job by a rookie? I mean, if you're a Chief fan, you don't like exactly what Jason David's doing, but that's textbook cornerback play. You're looking back, you're using that boundary as your friend. And he's in place of injured Donald Strickland starting there at corner. That was a very sharp rookie move.
2nd down and 10 from the Colt 45-yard line. And Hall is the 3rd wide receiver. Priest Holmes into the pile. And all kinds of guys, including Rob Morris, making the stop. It's a gain of 3 to the 43.
We've had 2 3-play drives by Peyton Manning and the Colts. And we've got Priest Holmes and Trent Green on this side showing no signs of slowing down. They're very, very confident. I love body language. And they're still very confident on Kansas City.
Remember, the Colts missed a field goal before halftime. Had they hit that, we'd be tied at 31. 3rd and a long 7. They've got to get to the 35. Hall is the 3rd receiver. Extra defensive back is in there. Von Hutchins. And Green throws, caught by Hall. Grabbed by Hutchins. 1st down, 32-yard line of the Colts. A gain of 11 on 3rd and 7.
Yeah, we saw Nick Harper, the starting corner for Indianapolis, change his cleats at the end of the 1st quarter. And Trent Green does a little slip and slide on the KC logo at the 50-yard line.
We've been seeing a well-born for Bober change at that right tackle.
It's a
most of the game. Yeah.
It's a rotation they've been doing for a while, and it's mainly just, the explanation is mainly just to keep him fresh.
Blaylock is in. It is a 1st down at the 32-yard line, and the pitch out to Blaylock. A block by Wigman. And a tackle in the secondary made by Bob Sanders. Gain of 6.
And Blaylock caught that one right on a thigh. And he's still down.
And we keep talking about all these offensive linemen, but Casey Wigman's had a nice open field block on numerous occasions today.
And a lot of them are defensive backs, but we've seen Mike Doss from safety, and now the young Sanders. I mean, Sanders drafted in the 2nd round. He was the last guy to sign a contract this year. There's Wigman making a nice block down the field, but look at that helmet right on the right quad. Just above the knee, right in the quad, was right where Sanders put that helmet. And Sanders is just now rounding into form after missing most of training camp and signing late.
Remember when you played high school football and Pee Wee football, those big thigh pads you used to wear, but they don't have those
thigh
big
pads?
Yeah, they don't have them now.
Knee pads?
Yeah.
Those things?
Yeah. Hip pads?
They're hindrances.
Yeah.
They don't look good in those pants. It's hard to style and wear pads at the same time.
And that's a good sign to see young Derek Blaylock get up. He's 4 years out of Stephen F. Austin, and we told you earlier, 4 rushing touchdowns last week against the Atlanta Falcons.
But you'd be hard-pressed to find many running backs that don't wear pads.
Right.
I mean, Blaylock's got thigh pads in there. He's got, actually, right where he got hit in that right, above his right knee, he's got, it almost looks like he has knee pads in his pants right where he got hit. So, I mean, they hit pad, but when it's helmet on pad, it gets to flesh pretty quick, impact-wise.
Now, he is the backup to Priest Holmes, and waiting on the sideline, maybe with a chance to see some snaps, Larry Johnson.
Well, they threw him a little bone there at the end of the half. He got a nice little run.
2nd down, 4 at the Colt 26. Holmes is back in. 2 tight ends on the same side, Dunn and Gonzalez. Priest Holmes. Shields pulls and blocks, and he is upended on the play nicely by Sanders, but he rambles his way for a 1st down. He's to the 14-yard line, picking up 12 yards. Holmes today, 104 on the ground.
Watch these blocks on the right side. Almost doesn't seem fair. Then on top of that, you pull Will Shields from the right guard position, Casey Wigman from the center position. The defense gets stretched out so fast to prevent the stretch that when they stretch, it's inside, and it all goes back to the big boys up front that are doing a heck of a job for the Chiefs here as we get to the end of the third quarter.
So Priest Holmes with blocking from Will Shields. 5 100-yard games this season. That's the end of the third quarter. Chiefs on top 31-28. We'll return to Kansas City after this message and a word from your local CBS station. The Kansas City Chiefs have had 2 turnovers in the red zone today. They line up at the 14, 1st and 10, leading 31-28 with Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan. Priest Holmes over 100 yards on the ground. And they've got Johnny Morton in motion on the first play of the fourth quarter. This is Priest Holmes with 2 rushing touchdowns today. He was hit by Cato June and brought down inside the 5. And he's got a gain of about 11 yards. So that will make it, I think, let's see, yeah, 1st and goal.
It almost doesn't seem fair when they get the man advantage, and a lot of this is just by formation and motion. You saw Kansas City lined up initially in one formation. They moved Gonzalez to the 2 tight end, tight wing kind of formation, brought Morton in motion. They've got the man advantage, and from there on, it's all downhill for Priest Holmes.
9th play of the drive. It began back at the Kansas City 37-yard line. Holmes back there with Richardson. And 2 tight ends. Priest Holmes. And he dives into, he's down at the 1. He landed head first at the 1, and that's where he is. 2nd down and goal.
He's about as close as you could physically get to the end zone without being in the end zone. Watch the hit with the flip. Watch the ball. Ball comes down right there on about the 1 foot line. That's Sanders again flashing in there, putting that flip on Priest Holmes.
Bober has come in as a tackle eligible. So now basically 3 tight ends. It's 2nd down and goal at the 1. And Holmes trying to dive in again and stopped again. No way. Doss was there. Thornton was there. Was the ball turned over? The Colts say yes. At least their body language would tell you, and they say the ball is down.
Do you see Thornton come down through the air? He couldn't get all of Holmes and grab his upper body and twist it around.
Caught him like a ball.
Holmes is going up head first. Here comes Thornton right there. Watch Thornton. Holmes goes up. Thornton goes up. Doss comes up. Thornton grabs his upper body in his helmet and pulls him around. That's why Holmes didn't get in. That's just guts. That's not game plan. No face mask, just good, smart football.
3rd and goal from the 1. And now flag is thrown. And they stop the play with 13-11 to play in the fourth quarter.
That's going to be, it might be up front on Indianapolis, and it's going to go from 3 inches to go to 1.5 inches to go if it's half the distance.
And from 3rd down to 1st.
Encroachment. Defense number 75. Half the distance to the goal. Remains 3rd down.
75 is defensive tackle Larry Triplett.
Well, that's a matter of semantics. You just pick the ball up and put it right back down where you had it. You can't get any closer.
Holmes has fumbled already today inside the Colt 5. So now 3rd and goal at the 1.
Watch the pad levels and watch the power from the left side of this Chiefs offense.
It's Tony Gonzalez on the move. And Priest Holmes with the Richardson block is in for his 3rd touchdown run today.
Watch Brian Waters, or not Brian Waters, Brian Waters right there, left guard. Kind of a cockeyed stance, looked like he was going to pull and move. He does, and he makes the difference. That's just the left side with Rolfe and Dunn just collapsing Indianapolis.
So the Chiefs answer the 2 initial second-half offensive possessions of the Colts. We had touchdowns on both those Indianapolis possessions with a touchdown of their own, and Priest Holmes with his 3rd today. Kansas City over 500 yards of offense, back up by 10 over Indianapolis. Kansas City trying to win their second straight game for the first time this season, and Priest Holmes has carried it across the goal line 3 times today. 3 rushing touchdowns moments ago from a yard away. And Holmes today 118 yards. And there's the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, Brian Waters. And the ensuing kickoff from the 15-yard line in Dominique Rhodes. Gets by Caver and got by Fred Jones and takes it out, and Gary Stills brings him down. A Pro Bowler on special teams a year ago. A 29-yard return to the 45.
Quick question for you, Kevin. Who's the offensive player of this game? Good luck.
Don't ask me that. After the kickoff and a return to the 41, Peyton Manning. First down and 10 yards to go. The fake to James, the rush by Hicks, and the throw is caught by James, who is whacked by Kawika Mitchell. All right, Greg, thank you. Second down and 8. Here comes the blitz, and they throw it outside, and it is intercepted. No, wait.
Yes, it was.
It was picked off.
Absolutely. Kawika Mitchell.
How about that? Kawika Mitchell with his second career interception. But see, they're looking at it now. They got to figure out that ball was bouncing 1,000 different ways.
But mainly off him.
Yes.
See, it goes up in the air when Edgerrin James puts his hand on it.
The ruling on the field is an interception and down by contact. First down.
Oh, they've got to, if you're Indianapolis, I think you've got to throw a replay flag on this one if you can. See, ball comes down. Mitchell's got it, pinned, hits the ground, bang, it's out. He never had that as a catch.
It is not an interception.
It looked like he had it pinned against his chest, but it wasn't pinned against his chest. It's pinned in the crook of his elbow, and then against the ground, and then it's out. A lot of pain and suffering there for Kawika Mitchell.
But a nice play for Mitchell, who is penciled in as a starting middle linebacker this preseason. Had a high ankle sprain. They put Monty Beisel in there. Beisel is now out, and Mitchell is in.
It was ruled down by contact, though.
The field is an interception and down by contact. Indianapolis is challenging that it's an incomplete pass.
Right. So you can't challenge the down by contact part, but you can challenge the interception.
Which they'll do while we're away with 12:10 to play in the game.
Just watch the ball when it comes into Kawika Mitchell, where it is. Right wrist, right shoulder, right hip, and the ground. Never a catch. Remember now, one of the things you have to remember here, again, you know, what down is it? Where's the ball? Where it will be spotted? We should come back and have it 3rd and 8. Indianapolis. Kind of an unusual situation here. You've got 2 offenses on the field. You don't see that real often.
Both quarterbacks are out there with their offensive units.
Never really out. Mike Carey now under the hood. I think just doing the final bit of housekeeping as far as, you know, where the ball exactly was placed.
It's appropriate that both offenses are on the field because there's been no defense today. Huh?
Yeah,
There's Manning. By the way, he has thrown today for over 360 yards. He becomes the first 300-yard passer allowed by the Kansas City defense in the regular season. In 21 regular season games now, Manning threw for 304 in the playoffs a year ago.
Catch, incomplete pass. Indianapolis is not charged with a team timeout. Please put 12-11 on the game clock. It's 3rd and 8 on the 46-yard line.
The correct call.
Oh, absolutely was the correct call. And, you know, the official that made the initial call, just to explain, really his back, or he's facing Kawika Mitchell's back, so he never saw the angle of the ball like that. to him, it looked like a catch clean the whole way.
For the first time today, the Colts have put in a second running back, and that is Dominic Rhodes. It is 3rd and 8. They got to get to the Kansas City 46. There is an extra defensive back in there for Kansas City, Julian Battle.
Yeah, Mike Carey's in there amongst them, kind of holding things up, and Peyton's making his hand motions and everything else, and Mike Carey, our referee's kind of, okay, just stop. Let me talk here.
And now one of the officials is going to the Kansas City sideline and getting on the phone.
11
Oh, they got to get the clock for a second shot.
12-11 on the game clock.
That is line judge Mark Perlman.
And don't forget, on the bottom of the screen, down lined up near to us, is going to be Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison still on 3rd down, does not have a catch since the 2nd game of the season on 3rd down. I mean, a big game so far here today, but on 3rd down, it's almost like one of the best receivers in the league turns into a decoy.
Stokely is in the slot. We talked about the extra running back. They're at the 46. They got to get to the 46. The Kansas City 46, 3rd and 8. Colts have scored on their 2 offensive possessions in the second half. Manning, who is hit and throws on 3rd down to Harrison, and he is well shy of the 1st down. He got a gain of 2 to the 48. He had to get down to the Kansas City 46. And now Manning does not want the defense on the field. He wants to go for it.
And Harrison, if you're going to get your 3rd down catch, there's no way Tony Dungy's going to let him do that.
Well, he's frustrated, and there is the overrule by Dungy, and they will punt with Hunter Smith.
Well, that's Harrison's first catch since week 2 on 3rd down.
Good call.
If you're the Kansas City Chiefs defense, go ahead, guy. You can have all these you want. If you can get some shots on Peyton like this in this 4th quarter, you're going to slow this offense way down.
Dante Hall's not returned a punt for a touchdown since October of last season. Play is stopped. Flags are thrown.
Clock.
Yep. Delay a game.
Delay. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
Well, if you're looking at this as any kind of big play or disadvantage, I think what Peyton Manning can do here is stand on the Indianapolis sideline and watch one of the best directional kickers we've seen in quite some time, Hunter Smith, punt. Hunter Smith gets excellent hang time and kicks it directionally into the side of the field, almost as good, if not better, than anybody else out there right now.
He is the number 2 punter in the NFL. 4th Colt punt in 10 possessions. He gets off a rocket. And it is in the end zone with the touchback. Close, 57-yard punt, very close.
If that thing landed less than 2 feet inbounds, I'd be very surprised.
The Chiefs get it back. They lead by 10 with 11:15 to play. 900 total yards of offense combined. I've been doing the NFL since '84. I've never said that before.
There was a game back in the early 90s, Buffalo and San Francisco. Jim Kelly against Steve Young.
Yeah.
That was like this. I think in that game, there was almost over 1,000 yards offense.
On a punt by the Colts and a touchback to the 20, it's Kansas City 1st and 10, and Priest Holmes brought down by Josh Williams. It is a gain of 3, and he's to the 23-yard line. We are here in Kansas City. We hope you're enjoying the game. In stat tracks in the upper part of the screen, and game tracks with scores in the lower portion of your screen. Sonny Morton has not caught a pass this half. 2nd down and 7. Green to Morton. And the coverage on the play by Nick Harper. 16-yard reception and a 1st down. And he's out to about the 45.
Nice call there, partner. Life is timing. Harper gets turned around, and Morton gets himself a nice catch, but not before going up the ladder to get that pass to Trent Greens.
Green has 339 yards passing, Manning 365.
Yeah, the mentality for Trent Green in this offense has got to be just like Peyton Manning and the Colts on the other side. They want to score every time they get it. You're going to have to be in the 40s to win this game. 39-yard line, 1st and 10, and he is gobbled up as Priest Holmes by Dwight Freeney. Loss of a yard, back to the 38, 37-yard line. Mike Dawes has a groin injury, and his return is questionable. Thus, we're seeing the rookie Bob Sanders
out of Iowa in the secondary. Did part of the second half for the Indianapolis Colts.
And one thing we've seen less of this half than the last half. Remember all the substituting for Indianapolis, moving around personnel, and
yes.
Freeney over the nose and taking him out of the game and not having, you know, their best Mathis and Freeney pass rushers in there. They've been on the field, or Freeney has, most of the time now.
Gonzalez is wide, 2nd and 11. They got to get to the 49. The screen pass set up for Priest Holmes, broken up nicely by the oncoming defensive linebacker Cato June. It'll be 3rd and 11.
Coverage by Cato June.
Now they bring in some extra personnel, including an extra defensive back, Von Hutchins.
So now, as good as an offensive show as this been, you know, and whatnot, this is time for Kansas City to tighten things down. 2 of their losses that we saw Houston, we saw Jacksonville. Late in the game, they didn't tighten it down, get the first downs they needed. Peyton Manning and this offense are not done tightening their stuff down yet either.
He's getting ready. It's 3rd and 11, and there goes Holmes, breaking a couple tackles, but eventually taken down by Sanders, Nelson, and Raheem Brock. It's a gain of 3, and here comes some boos and a bad offensive series for the Chiefs, who now have got a punt. Manning will get it with 8:58 or less to play. In fact, maybe closer to about 8.5 minutes.
Well, it's Halloween, and the doorbell just rang, and they know who's there.
Yes.
That's why they're booing. They know Peyton Manning and this offense is getting the ball back. A 10-point lead with 8.5 minutes left is not safe.
They took off less than 3 minutes on that possession, about 2.5 minutes off the clock. Jason David is back inside the 20-yard line, and the Steve Cheek punt is retrieved at about the 17. Jason David was tripped up by, looked like Freddie Jones. Indeed it was. Freddie Jones is the one to bring him down. And they begin at the 24-yard line. Game 2 of our doubleheader. New England and Pittsburgh. New England has never trailed by 7 points or more during that 21-game win streak. And here we go with Peyton Manning. 8:25 to play, and his team is down by 10. And Manning, who got a block from DeMullen, throws to his tight end, Dallas Clark. Who eventually brings him down with a Fujita assist, a 20-yard gain to the 43-yard line.
Dallas Clark last year broke his leg just as he and this offense were really hitting their stride. Now in the second half, we've seen this two tight end formation really work wonders against Kansas City's defense, and they've got them thinking backwards right now.
1st and 10 from the 44. Chiefs in their base defense. Fake to James. And Manning going deep, and he's got Reggie Wayne downfield with a catch at the 25-yard line. Working on Barty, working on Wesley. It's a gain of 31 yards and a Colt first down.
There's a lot of contact down the field, and that contact, top of your screen, 87 working against Barty. Wayne Barty. Who's pushing? I don't know. Get away with a pretty good little shot there into the small of the back to keep that momentum going of Barty's.
25-yard line. And with 2 tight ends still, as Randy's been talking about, 1st and 10 for Peyton Manning. More fake, and Dalton was faked out by it in a pass, and it is almost intercepted, incomplete, and Woods had it. And it's second time today that he has almost reeled in a Manning pass, incomplete. As Manning has gone over 400 yards for the 5th time in his career.
Here comes Jerome Woods, 21 from the right side. There's an instance, it almost seems like he was thinking about what he was going to do with it after he caught it and never got around to the catching part.
25-yard line, 2nd down and 10. Manning got by Sims, dumps it off short to James, who is slowed down by Dalton and tackled by Barber. The gain is to the 13. It's a pickup of 12, and it's a first down.
Well, how strong is Edgerrin James and what he can do? There's Brandon Stokely. Haven't seen much of him this second half with all this 2 tight end formation.
13-yard line, 1st and 10. You can see the numbers, stat traps. More faking by Manning into the end zone and over the head of Harrison, covered by Wesley and by Warfield. 2nd down and 10.
And what Peyton Manning does a lot of time, especially in the red zone, is he throws the ball in spots not a lot of quarterbacks will because of his faith.
Right.
And I don't mean religion, folks, but I mean the faith that he has in his receivers. He'll put that ball 8 feet off the ground above the defenders, knowing that Marvin Harrison has got a pretty good shot at coming down with it. Harrison on the left again, Kevin.
And Stills and Allen to rush on the defensive line for Kansas City. 2nd and 10. Harrison's to the left this time. And Manning to the end zone and no one home. No one's there. They had Harrison and Wayne both at about the 5-yard line, bringing up 3rd down and 10.
There's Marvin Harrison working in the inside. Working against Warfield. Gets a little bump from the front, a little bump from the back from Barty, and Manning wants a little, how come they can put their hands on my guys? Well, it's varsity football, Peyton. They can hit your guys.
Julian Battle is in as an extra defensive back for the Chiefs. Stokely has come in as a slot receiver. It is 3rd down and 10 from the 13. Manning again going short. What a catch by Reggie Wayne, diving to the 6-yard line. They call it down. He is shy of a 1st down by about 2.5 yards. The catch was made at the 6, and a beauty it was, a gain of 7.
That wasn't a catch, it was a snag. What's he got, grappling hooks on his hands? Wow. Catches it with 2 hands, reaches out, knees are down, ball is down, and then it comes out.
We'll call it 4th and 3. What an important play in this game at the 6-yard line.
Back to regular formation for them. Only one tight end. Stokely in the right slot.
Manning. And caught. Reggie Wayne, touchdown. And he beat Julian Battle. And the Colts refuse to die on Halloween on a gray afternoon in Kansas City.
Another fake faith pass. Peyton Manning comes back, and he's just throwing it knowing and his guy's going to be there. You saw that ball in the air, and Wayne hadn't even planted his foot to turn around. And Peyton knows what his receiver is going to do. That was excellent execution. Like I said, don't breathe easy around this team. It's time to start hyperventilating.
Vanderjagt puts it up and in, and we're close again. Reggie Wayne on that drive, a 31-yard reception. Following that up with a 6-yard touchdown reception. Peyton Manning, Randy, 5 touchdown passes today.
Well, as great as Manning's been, this game is now in the hands of the offense of Kansas City. You want to be 3-4. Do you want to control this game? You got 5.5 minutes to go. Peyton's just thrown that touchdown. Peyton's just brought his team within 3 points of you. Control the game, control the clock, and use Priest, Holmes, and run the ball here. That's your game plan if you're Kansas City.
Well, they were faced with this in Jacksonville a couple weeks ago. They had it at the Jacksonville 33. The Jaguars had no timeouts. All they had to get was a 1st down and run out the clock. A little different today because the Colts have 3 timeouts to match Kansas City's with 5.5 to play.
But they have that kind of offense.
Yes, they do.
That's why I bring
Yes,
it up.
they do.
Is they have the ability to go away and hide with the ball. You know, we've seen Indianapolis go 3 plays, touchdown, 3 plays, touchdown. Big play, big play, big play. Kansas City, little Priest, little Gonzalez, little Priest. Let that clock run, keep them in bounds, make them waste their timeouts.
Just a little housekeeping on Peyton Manning, a career high, 441 yards, 5 touchdown passes today.
So far.
We've got a lot left in this game.
He may have about 500 by the time this thing's done.
Vanderjagt will set the kickoff. Dante Hall is inside the 5-yard line. Hall's not returned to kickoff for a touchdown since September of last year. But he did in the playoffs against the Colts. Dancing around Hutchins and running out of real estate, and then finally out of bounds with the 23-yard return, and Bob Sanders escorted him there. And so the ball will be at the 30. Here, let's go back to your crosstalk early in the game.
Well, we talked about that. If you stop the run, will the pass defense hold? And the Colts have been taken advantage of on a pretty regular basis with the pass. The rush has been great, but then you look at what Kansas City's done, just giving the game to their big boys. That offensive line through 3.5 quarters has done it, Kevin. Like I just said, it's time for them to take control of the game.
Mike Doss not playing with a thigh injury, and so back there, Bob Sanders, 1st and 10 for the Chiefs. Melbourne is playing right tackle. Quick throw caught by Johnny Morton. He's got a touchdown catch today. He's grabbed by David and shoved out of bounds on the play by Cato June. And he's out of bounds at about the 38-yard line with the gain of 6. It'll be 2nd down.
Gain of 7 on the pass play.
And part of controlling the game too, Kevin, we talked about, this offensive line is maintaining this protection for Trent Green. Let him stand there. If you don't run the ball, if you decide to pass, they can't touch your quarterback.
This game has over 1,000 yards of offense already with just under 5 to play. 37-yard line, 2nd down and 4. And Priest holds. Good block by Richardson. And he's in the backfield. And he dives for a 1st down to the 48-yard line. A 15-yard gain. And Holmes today, 29 carries, 123 yards.
The keys, middle guys. Waters, Wigman, Shields. And then Richardson as the lead back, coming as a fullback.
1st and 10 from the
They just dominate on that play to spring Priest Holmes. Look at the nice block that Richardson puts on Thornton. The whole inside of that offense does things just perfectly on that play.
2 tight ends. Horn is the lone receiver. 1st down at the Colt 48. Green to Richardson. Tripped up by Thornton, the linebacker. And not much of a gain. We'll call it a yard to the 48. Coming into today, this was the look at how both teams stood in their respective divisions. In the West, the Chiefs trailing Denver by 3. And in the South, it was a half-game lead with Jacksonville on top. 1,000 yards of offense in this game. Peyton Manning has thrown 5 touchdown passes. Priest Holmes has 3 rushing touchdowns. 2nd down 9 at the 47-yard line of the Colts for the Chiefs, and Priest Holmes with 125 yards rushing as he's tackled crossing the 45. Brought down by Rob Morris and a gain of 3.
The story of this game as far as Kansas City's offense goes is the performance of that man right there, Priest Holmes, and what he's been able to do backing up that 4-touchdown performance last week against the Falcons. Just been more of the same. And Peyton Manning for the Colts has just been spectacular. 441 yards and 5 touchdowns.
44-yard line, 3rd down and 6. They've got to get to the 39. And Green. Here comes Freeney. There goes Green. And throws to a wide open Eddie Kennison. Tackled by Sanders, the rookie. He is inside the Colt 20-yard line, picking up 25 yards and a Chiefs 1st down.
You don't have to steamroll somebody pass block or run blocking to dominate a game. Indy's got the pass rushers, but Kansas City's got the offensive line to keep them out. And it ought to be illegal to give a quarterback that much time to look at a defense. Defensive backs just can't chase guys that long without one of them getting open.
You said all day long it is the best offensive line in the NFL.
And as a result of that time of possession and staying in bounds and moving the ball, Indy's used one of their 3 timeouts. So now the Chiefs have 3, Indy's down to 2. We're now down at 2:35. If Dick Vermeil and his football team do this right, they run a play here with a run, it'll go down to the 2-minute warning. So Tony Dungy functionally has 3 timeouts left for the Colts. He's at the 2-minute warning and his own 2 timeouts.
The Kansas City Chiefs are 3 games in back of first place Denver in the AFC West. They're trying to win their 2nd straight game for the first time this season. And for the Colts, who have won 4 of 5, but losing last week at home to Jacksonville, they trail the Jaguars by a half game in the AFC South. And the Chiefs, after they watch the Colts call a timeout, have got it 19-yard line of Indianapolis, 1st down and 10. And it's Holmes. And they jump on him with a Raheem Brock Tackle at about the 17-yard line and a gain of 2. Another timeout and taken by Indianapolis. Priest Holmes today rushing for over 100 yards for the 5th time this season. He is the #1 running back in the NFL in terms of yards coming into today.
Well, Priest Holmes has had the performance, but the spell has been cast by the offensive line for Kansas City. It has been a physical mismatch between them and Indianapolis' front 7. I mean, remember the days Marshall Faulk was doing things people thought was so spectacular and so unusual in St. Louis when Dick Vermeil was there?
Yes.
With Mike Marks as his coordinator. Priest Holmes is doing those type of things look everyday and ordinary. Today's a great example.
Keep in mind the Chiefs have had 2 red zone turnovers this afternoon. They've got it now in the red zone at the 17-yard line, and they've got 2nd down and 8. This is a rematch of last year's AFC playoff game, which the Colts won 38-31. Kennison is on the move. Dante Hall is in the game, and here comes the rush by Brock and a nice toss and a completion caught by Gonzalez. And that is a gain of 3. Houston beating Jacksonville 26. We welcome that audience with Randy Cross. This is Kevin Harlan, and updating you, Manning has thrown 5 touchdown passes, over 1,000 yards of offense. The Indianapolis Colts have called another timeout, and they are now out of timeouts. Trent Green has thrown a couple touchdown passes today. Peyton Manning, 400. This is a career high day for him. 441 passing yards.
And that's why Tony Dungy's using these timeouts the way he's using. You know, the clock's going to stop again here in 17 seconds at the 2-minute warning. But he's thinking field goal. We hold this team to a field goal. Peyton Manning sitting on the sideline, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, Edgerrin James. Then we've got the advantage if we're only down by 6.
First down, and things look pretty good for Kansas City. No timeouts for Tony Dungy. The Colts come in 4-2, and the Chiefs at 2-4. And after this game, which has been a thriller in Kansas City, we'll take most of you to Pittsburgh for the New England Patriots, which have won 21 consecutive games dating back to last year. Again, young rookie quarterback Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey, we talked earlier about Kansas City being 2 first downs away from being 4-2 in that game against Houston and the game against Jacksonville. Critical first downs they didn't get. Another example. This is on the offense. First down here.
Chiefs took over with 5:27 to play. 8th play of the drive. And Brock may have jumped off sides on that line, and Green's got a free down to the end zone. Caught by Tony Gonzalez. His 2nd touchdown reception today.
And just seemed, his whole body seemed to, he looked like he got taller. Looked like he got wider. Looked like he got more confidence. Just going back for that pass, it was a freebie, and he sure made it count to Tony Gonzalez,
who became the 5th tight end in NFL history earlier in this game to record 500 career catches. The Lawrence Tynes extra point, and we're at 2:17 to play in the 4th, and the Kansas City Chiefs lead the Colts 45-35. Another 10-point Kansas City lead.
Okay, here's Brock. There's Gonzalez. Quick jump, throw it to the end zone. What a catch.
And they beat rookie Jason David, the corner.
Tony Gonzalez, Dwight Freeney, he jumped also in front of Gonzalez. What a nice move. That's a tight end.
Trent Green has thrown the 3 touchdown passes, 2 to Gonzalez, and Green has gone 27 of 34 for 389 yards. Now it's on the mind of Peyton Manning with no timeouts and 2:17 to play.
What's on his mind? Scoring 2 touchdowns.
And he can do it.
You get a ball down. Remember 3 plays and touchdown? They want another one of those and an onside kick.
Dominique Rhodes is deep back. He returned to kickoff for a touchdown against the Chiefs 3 years ago, and the ensuing boot by Lawrence Tynes. From the 14-yard line for Dominique Rhodes. And on the move he goes, and pushed out of bounds by Julian Battle with a nice return of 27 yards. They take over at the 44 at the 1st and 10. They have deployed 3 receivers, including Stokely in the slot, and the Chiefs have an extra defensive back with Julian Battle. Manning, and he's got Stokely with the diving catch at the 35-yard line, which takes us to the 2-minute warning, a pickup of 21 yards, and a Colt first down when we come back. The Chiefs trying to win their 2nd consecutive game. The 2-minute warning in Kansas City. The Chiefs in the last 2 games have scored 101 total points.
And for those of you that haven't gotten to see this, highest scoring outdoor arena football league team.
2-minute warning, no timeouts for Peyton Manning. He's down by 10 at the Kansas City 35. A fake to James. And Manning to Marcus Pollard, who caught a touchdown pass earlier. Wisely stops the clock. He gets the first down. He's to the 25-yard line. Fujita shoved him out of play. It's a gain of 10.
Gain of 10 yards.
1:54 to play.
If I'm Tony Dungy's defense, I'm on the sideline trying to figure out how I'm going to stop Kansas City if this onside kick that's coming up isn't good. Because Peyton Manning's thinking 6 points here and then an onside kick. Got a whistle.
We'll review the last play.
From upstairs, inside 2 minutes. It's all reviewable upstairs in the press box by the Observer and Mike Carey. Colts have gone 30 games in the regular season without consecutive losses. They lost last week to Jacksonville.
What they're going to review is whether or not Pollard steps out of bounds. See, he catches this ball, plants with the right foot. Where does it come down? From that angle, it's hard to say. Is he in or is he out? It's the toe you're worrying about, and from that angle, it's hard to even say.
But the head linesman was right there with the perfect view. Yeah. You can see him in the background.
It looks like he's just inside the white. In fact, you see that little piece of turf that came up when he moved his foot. That was well inside. This little dirt, little divot was formed. That was inside the out of bounds mark. Yeah, you have to say though, when the officials are as positioned as good as, Steve Stelgis is the line judge is right there, number 22.
Last year, these two teams combined for 69 points and 842 yards. Today, you can see the 45-35 score, and they've combined for 1,098 yards.
Right here, watch when he picks up the foot. See the divot? That's in. The divot comes up right there. That's well inbounds where his foot was. And like we said, the line judge is right there just staring right down at his foot.
After this game, we'll be taking you to either Pittsburgh or the West Coast for a New England-Pittsburgh Steeler matchup, which is very enticing on this Halloween.
And as good as some of the defenses are in that game, San Diego's got a pretty good one, and New England and Pittsburgh, they may not have as many yards in both those games.
.154 to play. Indianapolis is out of timeouts. As Mike Carey continues to look at the replay. It's a time of year that these offenses, of course, today we've just seen an incredible offensive display, but teams begin to get their personality for the rest of the season.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is correct. The receiver had both feet in bounds. Good shot.
Well, the big difference has been to me in this game, first half, second half. First half, the Kansas City defense dictated a lot. They had the one slip by Warfield, but held this offense to 14 points with that slip. Okay? Second half for Dick Vermeil's football team defensively, it's been a landslide with those two quick three-play touchdown drives to start this half.
It is a first down at the Kansas City 25 for Peyton Manning.
Both sides of the ball did what they had to do for Kansas City, Kevin. The offense drove down, used the clock, got their touchdown, and Kansas City was able to force Peyton Manning into a mistake. It was not your typical Manning pass, and they took advantage of it.
And with no timeouts to stop the clock, the Chiefs, barring a fumble, will take it in with 90 seconds remaining and the clock ticking. And Peyton Manning and the Colts will lose their second consecutive game for the first time in 31 games.
With Minnesota coming up next week for the Colts.
Incredible offense. They got to go back to 1950 when the Rams and the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium combined for more yards than today. The executive producers of the NFL on CBS, Sean McManus and Tony Petitti. Today's game was produced by Bob Monsbach and directed by Suzanne Smith. The senior producer of CBS Sports, and the NFL Today is Eric Mann. The director is Bob Matina. Coordinating producer of CBS Sports is Harold Bryant. The associate directors of today's game, Fred Johnson and Jonathan Siegel. The broadcast associate, Andy Friedman. Special thanks to Gary Brown. The technical manager is Doug Fleetum. Pat McGrath has been our statistician. Our technical director, Chris Romanek, and our audio supervisor, Dave Grunvig. Great job. Kansas City wins their second consecutive game for the first time this season. They go to 3-4, and they've got 2 winnable games on the road.
Well, the good news for the Kansas City defense is not many teams have Peyton Mannings. I think they actually grew on defense and learned something about themselves.
So for Randy Cross, Kevin Harlan saying so long from Kansas City, where the Chiefs beat the Colts by 10. Coming up, game 2 of our doubleheader. Most of you will be watching the New England Patriots travel to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. Others will see Oakland at San Diego. An incredible day for both quarterbacks. A big win for the Chiefs, who lost last year to the Colts in the playoffs, and gaining redemption today. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.